The 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube. Just search at Mike Gill Show. What's up, man? What a fun night in Philly sports last night. It was like, wow, I'm having fun watching sports in this city with these teams. Who knew? Flyers win overtime. Shootout, by the way. Second straight shootout win. Remember a time when the Flyers were like the worst shootout team? And then the Sixers, down 19, come back to win in overtime against the Wizards last night to get to 4-0. We're talking about that and more here on the Sports Bash. Your text messages all day. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. You can get involved that way on the Twitter X platform at Mike Gill Show, YouTube at Mike Gill Show. What's up? We got the Flyers win last night. That was a shootout win, a little spunky game against the Penguins. What happened to the call of the game? Did that get lost in the sauce or something? No, I had both calls set up for the game today, the win of the Flyers game, and then I got criticized for the play that I picked to use, and then it didn't get used at all. And then I had a fun Sixer game, which I was being told, you could pick out 1 million calls from this Sixers game last night. It was so good. I picked out a call to play in the open, and neither one of them were used. How come neither one of these calls got used today?
Because I was distracted and I had the wrong page up. So it's my fault.
So do you want to play them?
Sure.
This was the Flyers win last night in the shootout.
Needs to score to keep the Penguins alive. In on Sam Ersson. Able to pick the shot. Saved by Ersson. The Flyers win it in the shootout. They thought they had it in overtime. That was taken away. But Michkov and Brink scored shootout goals, and the Flyers beat the Penguins in the shootout 3-2.
So Ersson gets the save. Now, Josh said, well, why didn't you use the Brink goal as the call that you were going to use? Because the Brink goal gave them the shootout advantage, but it didn't give them the win. So the Ersson save was the better call by Tim Saunders last night. That game was on Rock 104.1. Here is one of the calls that pretty much was one of endless amount of calls from one Tom McGinnis last night.
Bonus screens. Maxey goes into the lane. Maxey with a floater. It's off the rim. Rebound slam. A Dembona. Biggest play of his career. A slam. And the Wizards take time.
Tom McGinnis on 97.3 ESPN. I actually texted McGinnis this morning and said, great call last night. And he actually responded with a fun text as well that said, let me go back through my phone here. He said, surprising and fun start. Yes, it is a surprising and fun start. I look at what the Sixers are doing, and I tweeted out the other day, they're so much more fun. And then yesterday, it's like you're telling people, hey, go watch the Sixers and just give them a chance. And then for 3 quarters, they make you look like an idiot.
I literally had somebody text me yesterday and be like, well, they were due for a loss.
It was one of those potential scheduled losses back-to-back. Washington's not great, but they're not awful anymore. They finally have like a couple young players that are like decent. You know, they drafted Johnson in the first round this year. Sarr drafted number 2 overall last year?
I think it was number 2, but also the veteran C.J. McCollum who kind of like helped shepherd them a little bit.
Yeah, so they're not as bad as they used to be. They're not going to be good this year. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, but they've got some young, high lottery picks that are actually decent. Like, so they're not a team that's going to win games, but if you go down there on a back-to-back, they might be able to clip you. Like, they're going to win games. Like, they're going to win 20, 25 games, so they have to beat somebody. And for them to win games, it's generally going to be on nights where it's a back-to-back and they kind of catch you off guard. Well, they were doing that to the Sixers last night. They were catching the Sixers off guard last night until the Sixers decided to actually get back into that game, and that's when the real fun began. That's when the fun began, and Tyrese Maxey helped the Sixers get to 4-0 for the first time since 2019-2020. He had 39 points, 10 assists, and he had 9 of the team's 13 points in overtime. For reference there, the Wizards only scored 8 points in overtime. And when you look at the scoring, Tyrese Maxey right now is the 7th player with 150 points through his first 4 games. The only other ones to do it in the last 50 years, Josh, do you have a guess? There's 2 players.
In the last 50 years?
In the last 50 years, there's only 2 players to do what Maxey has done through his 4 games.
Allen Iverson?
Allen Iverson is not on that list. He has, by the way, surpassed everything that Allen Iverson has done. He is the first player in Sixers history to score 35 or more points in 3 of the team's first 4 games. And his 150 points are the second most through 4 games of a season in franchise history. Wilt Chamberlain had 157, and he is one of the players, but that was not in the last 50 years.
Not the last 50 years.
In the last 50 years, it's only happened by 2 players.
Michael Jordan?
Michael Jordan did it 3 times.
Wow. I didn't know it was 3 times. That's
He
even
did it
more
3
impressive.
times. He scored 150 points through his first 4 games of the season. Maxey is the second one. There's one other guy who has done it in the last 50 years, has done what Maxey has done. Now, when you hear this guy's name, you probably won't be – it's not as impressive as Michael Jordan. Nothing is.
Okay, so that kind of eliminates one of the players I was thinking. So thank you for that tip there.
But when you hear this guy's name and think back to who he was at this time, he's, by the way, still active.
That eliminates another player I was thinking of.
Okay.
He's still active.
I believe he is. I'm pretty sure he is.
You believe, you hope.
Yeah. Let me just double check on that.
Now you're going to double check. Oh, geez.
I'm pretty sure he signed with somebody.
Signed with somebody.
Let's see. Yes, he did.
Okay, so he is.
I was pretty positive that he did sign. I just forgot where. He is still active.
He is still active.
Mm-hmm.
He is still in the league.
18 seasons. This is year 18.
Good for him.
Won an MVP.
He's won an MVP.
Top 5 MVP voting 1, 2, 3, 4 times.
18 years. Well, hold on a sec. So 18. So that means he would have been drafted. What is that, like?
He got drafted in 08.
08.
Yep, 08. There's 3 people that have done this. This guy's one of them. He was drafted in 08. He's in his 18th season right now. He was the 4th overall pick in the draft by, and this is going to throw you off, he was drafted by the Seattle Supersonics. But it's not the guy you're thinking of.
Russell Westbrook?
That is correct. I thought you were going to say Kevin Durant.
No, because he was drafted number 2 behind Greg Oden.
But he was also drafted by the Seattle Supersonics.
He was also
I don't know how many people are left in the league that were drafted by the Seattle Supersonics, but Russell's one and Durant
Kevin
must be
Durant's the
2.
other.
So that is what
Maxey did
last night.
That was fun.
And when you throw his assist in, he is the second player with at least 150 points and 30 assists through his first 4 games since Russell Westbrook. And you know what Russell Westbrook did that year? He won the MVP.
And he averaged triple-double.
It is also his 4th straight games when he led all players on both teams outright in scoring and assists. That is the longest streak by any player in the history of the NBA. Now, last night, following the game, when all the games were done, Tyrese Maxey now has the 6th shortest odds to win the MVP at 60-1. Here's the other part of this game. The Sixers trailed by as many as 17 points in the 4th quarter. They were down by as many as 19 points. It's their second largest 4th quarter comeback in since the Iverson era, going back to 97.
Wow. So
this is the 4th game they've won. The 3rd time where they've had to come back from behind.
Did you hear the MVP chants for Maxey again?
Did hear that, and he missed the free throw again.
They did. Stop chanting.
Stop chanting that. Because late in the game, when they needed him to make a free throw, I was saying, please, no MVP chants right now.
And then they rang out.
he's been unbelievable. But I do want to talk a little bit about some of the other things. So we had Paul Hudrick on yesterday, and we were talking about a lot of different things here. The one thing we talked about was obviously VJ Edgecombe, and I thought he kind of had a slow start to the game last night. He wasn't nearly as aggressive or as
assertive.
Assertive's a good word. He wasn't as efficient either in terms he was 4 of 12 from the field, but he only took 12 shots. But he did shoot 50% from three-point range. He had 2 4-point plays in the game last night. He ended up with a night where you look at the box score and you wouldn't say, hey, he really had a big game last night. But he did shoot the 2-3. He hit 4 threes last night. He only ended up with 14 points in the game, but he did make some headway with the 6 rebounds. He had 4 assists in the game.
He was still part of the game.
He was. The other guy who, if you watch the stat sheet and you would say, this guy didn't do anything, I thought Trendon Watford was awesome last night.
You just love Trendon Watford.
I do, and he made me feel...
You're going to be the headliner of the Trendon Watford
Well, I
fan
wasn't
club.
the only one. If you looked at Twitter last night and just do a search of his name, just put his name in and see what comes up.
I'd rather not.
All right, well...
I'd rather just take your word for it.
Watford was so interesting as a playmaker and doing what I thought. He made a lot of screens and rolls and passes. He had 3 assists last night. He had 4 rebounds last night. He was a +7. I thought Watford did exactly what I was hoping for, kind of pulling things together. But then there was Bona. My Barona. Adem Bona. My man had 5 blocked shots, and like the night before, where Nick Nurse said, what do you have, like 17, jokingly? It felt like he had 17 again last night. That guy was all over the place. He had 5 rebounds and 5 blocks last night. He played 18 minutes. And by the way, he had no fouls in the game. So he had 5 blocks and no fouls in that game.
And he arguably played some of the most important minutes of the entire game because while he didn't play quote-unquote starter minutes, his minutes in the fourth quarter and overtime.
He played the most important minutes.
Exactly. And so to me, that's a great sign of his development, that this is a young man who has taken opportunity and taken full advantage of it and maximized his contributions to the team.
Well, think about this last night. From the center position, Embiid, by the way, had 25 points for the people who weren't paying attention to him. He was 9 of 17, 3 of 6 from 3, got to the line 6 times, had 7 rebounds, 5 assists. He had a block. He was a +9, by the way. We keep talking about the team was better with him off the floor. They were a +9 with him on the floor last night. So his 25 points kind of came in handy, even though he wasn't out there for the stretch run of the game. Andre Drummond then took his place, and then he had 10 rebounds. So think about this. Between Embiid, 7, Drummond, 10, 17, plus another 5 from Bona, you had 22 rebounds from the center position last night, plus Embiid's 25 points, 6 from Drummond, and another 2 from Bona, which, by the way, the 2 from Bona were the 2 biggest of the night on the putback jam that finally gave you the lead. You had, 33 points. What'd I say? How many rebounds? 17. 5. So you had 22 rebounds and 33 points. And 5 blocks from Bona, 1 from Drummond, 6, and 1 from Embiid, 7. 7 blocks last night, 22 rebounds, and 33 points from the center position. Like, holy bleep. Like, are you kidding me? So can these 3 guys piece together some sort of 3-man like weave here where, hey, you score 25, I'll grab 10 rebounds, and you get 5 blocks.
But they also can do it for another reason, Mike. Not just because of the stats you read off, okay? There was something even more important than the numbers you read off. If you were watching the game, what did you see? Embiid and Drummond celebrating with Bona during the timeout.
Embiid celebrating with everybody.
But my point is that it's not like Drummond and Embiid were like sitting there pouting that they weren't in the game. They saw this young man going out there and having success, and they were like, let's go, keep doing it.
Embiid last night, there's a picture which I tweeted out or posted out on the X platform at Mike Gill Show. and he is so happy he jumps in the air. And I said, well, it looks like Embiid can actually jump.
Right.
Because he is so high in the air and just so excited. There's video that has surfaced of, I guess there was a fan in Washington was heckling the Sixers bench all night long because they were down 19 points.
Right.
And then after the Sixers came back and won that game, that Embiid and some of the others were doing the DX chop to him and just basically pointing and laughing at the guy. It just shows you the headspace that Joel's in, that, yeah, I'm not in this right now. I am.
But I'm happy to be here with these guys.
I'm happy to be here with these guys because it doesn't have to be all me right now. It doesn't finally have to be the Joel Embiid show. Are the Sixers better without Joel Embiid? I don't think they're better big picture. They might be better in spurts, and I would say they're more capable without Joel. But are they capable to win a title? No. Listen, you're still down to a non-playoff level Wizards team, and a lot of that's because Joel's just not out there the whole time. You are losing a lot of these games. Now, you're losing when he's on the court, and then you're coming back when he's not. But big picture, a 25-point night from Joel Embiid is going to be paramount for this team to realistically make a deep playoff run. So they're fun, they're entertaining, and they're more equipped without Joel. But if you watch that game last night, it was really because a lot of the depth they had at that position is Joel scored 25. They were a +9 on the floor when Joel played. But when he left the floor, like in years past, the team didn't fall apart. Drummond came in and got 10 rebounds. Bona came in and gave you unbelievable minutes. And we kept saying, look, Joel's defense is just not playable right now. He's just not playable right now.
I mean, is it possible that, to use a baseball analogy, is Joel Embiid the starting pitcher and Adem Bona the closer?
Yeah, possible. I mean, late in these games, you probably need to find a way to get Bona. And I said I would try to play both of these guys together.
I mean, I would like to see them start together a little more often in certain matchups, but I think that the way Bona has played the last couple of games, you could argue that he might be the most valuable player at the end of close games because he's such a great rim protector. He's such an underrated rebounder. He's such a freakish athlete. He's got that energy where he can just basically step up when you need him to, and now you're not asking Embiid to take such a heavy load on the defensive end in some of these situations.
Joel's always been a 7'2" enigma as a rebounder.
Yes.
Just not a great rebounder for a guy of that size. He's just not very good at reading the ball coming off of the rim. So he's not a great rebound. Drummond's one of the best rebounders in the history of the game. Bona is just an absolute pogo stick. He is all over the place.
That's what McGinnis called him last night. His ability to jump, come down, and get right back, it's unbelievable. And his length and his ability to go from backside to other side, I mean, it is unbelievable, like what he is able to accomplish as a rim protector. That's why I think we saw them play Bona and Embiid together in the preseason game. Right.
I'm wondering if they're going to go back to that at all.
I'd like to see them do it more often. I think that there's a value there.
I think so, too. And especially if Joel, whose offense is, he's starting to get a little bit more rhythm offensively. He's starting to shoot the ball a little bit better. He's a lot more efficient the last couple of nights. Look, the first couple of games that he's been back, he's just kind of getting into the flow and the rhythm. By the way, talking about people last night, I said to look up Watford's, stuff. You didn't want to do that here. Sean Bernard, who covers the Sixers. Trendon Watford might end up being the best playmaker on the Sixers. Really unique skill set the team needs. Look at the Sixers are making an effort to put the ball in his hands as a decision maker, and he is delivering. Also, yesterday we had Paul Hudrick on the show. Really impressive first stint from Trendon Watford. This guy can play. And I said, as we discussed today, he's a guy that just kind of pulls it all together. He's not going to score a lot. So somebody would say, he scored 2 points. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about basketball. We're not talking about scoring. we're talking about basketball, and you're like, what's the whole tie-in here? Because I thought last night some of the little tiny things, spacing, things that he did, screens that he set,
I was gonna say, a couple of the
making
screens,
that extra pass.
Yeah, a couple of the screens he set were extremely important in getting open looks last night. So, I don't deny his value. I'm just saying that I'm not as excited about him as you are. I'm more juiced about a Dembona after last night.
Oh, listen, Dembona is an athlete who flies off the page. Watford does it. It's kind of like a silent killer. He does things that people don't notice. And if you're somebody that likes to notice something, that's not what he does. He's the guy who gets the secondary assist.
And listen, that's important.
It's something that this team has lacked.
Yeah, and if you go back, the role that he played last night, to an extent, I'm not saying 100%, but to an extent, is what you wanted a couple of years ago from P.J. Tucker and never got.
Well, just a guy who does the dirty work, but he is a guy who does the dirty work and does it in a more, what's the right word to use? Again,
Subtle?
like I said, subtle's a good word. He is the guy that,
That's 2 points from
like I said, makes the hockey assist. He'll get the second assist.
Yep.
He doesn't get the first big assist, but he's the one that makes the pass that makes the other guy get the assist. That type of player. And I talk about that all the time. The Sixers just lack the guy with the smarts. Just lack the guy with the basketball intuition. He's one of those guys. So that's one of the things that stood out to me last night. Bona's game was off the charts. Maxey was unbelievable. Edgecombe hit a couple of big shots. Oubre played well again last night, shooting the ball. He's been a blessing because he's so erratic. You're just waiting for the other shoe. Drummond gave you a nice run, getting 10 rebounds. Watford, I thought, had a nice job. By the way, Jabari Walker had 2 big offensive rebound putbacks in the game as well. And the Sixers come back to beat the Wizards last night, 139-134. You heard it right here on 97.3 ESPN. I think if you look back, though, at what ended up winning them that game, you got to go to Bona and the energy that he brought defensively. And that's one of the things the Sixers, I think, moving forward here with Joel, what is this minute restriction for Joel? What is the purpose of it? Are they trying to get him back into offensive shape? Because I saw him jump after the game, and he can get off the ground, man. He can get off the ground. So are they just trying to ease him back into the offensive flow? It is kind of weird right now the way they're handling this. Plus an update on Paul George. When White BC, Paul George back on the floor. We'll get into that. Flyers won last night as well. It was a Bobby Brink biscuit in the basket for the Flyers, who went in a shootout again over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Sam Erison got the win for the Fly Guys. Check out Kevin Durso's coverage of the Flyers' win over the Penguins at 97.3ESPN.com. Coming up at 3, Q Myers. Keith Pompey on the Sixers tonight at 5. We'll talk about everything. Sixers, Phils, Eagles, and more. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. Coming up next. Plus 99 bottles. Listen for your cue to call this hour on the Sports Bash. 2:30 Sports Bash Live. Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City, PressOfAC.com. Brought to you by Broadley's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, serving South Jersey since 1911, keeping your home comfort game day ready this season. Flyers win, Sixers win, Eagles at the bye, Phillies off season. A lot of stuff going on right now. And, of course, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City is all over all of it. We'll talk about him here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Well, Mike, 4 games in, the Sixers have been not only 4-0, but they're fun, right? This is the antithesis of the season that we saw a year ago.
Yeah, absolutely entertaining team. I thought last night's game was great to watch. It was seemingly out of it, the start of that fourth quarter, and then they come back. Maxey has just played great. Edgecombe, of course, we know what he's done. Bona comes off the bench last night. It looks like Bill Russell blocking shots everywhere. So 4-0 start. Quality of opposition hasn't been the greatest, but, if you're looking for some fun at the start of your NBA season, the Sixers sure have given it to you.
All right, well, what do we take as real and not real from this crew so far? What are some of the things that have been impressive that you say, okay, didn't see that happening, but I think it can continue?
Well, first of all, Tyrese Maxey. I've kind of been hard on him in the past. I thought he had a bad season last year. I thought he wasn't great the year before. I thought he was a bit overrated. But so far through these first 4 games of the season, he's been great out there. He's played with a sort of infectious joy. He's played efficiently, and he just seems to have a lot more energy. And I think the team has benefited from him becoming more of a leader and sort of stepping into that role that maybe was held by a Joel Embiid or a Paul George or one of the older players in the past. It's clear that now Maxey is the leader of this group, and I like that, and I like where that can take the 76ers.
Yeah, Maxey, obviously, he's on a scoring tear right now. He's also passing the ball well, shooting the ball well. I mean, he feels like maybe, you're growing into it. He's had some flashes, but has he kind of taken that step to now where 4 games into the season, this is a Maxey team over an Embiid team?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you hit it there. He's playing a more all-around game. And I can just say the team seems to be taking on Maxey's personality for the first time since he's really been here. And I think that's a good thing. And obviously there's some talented young players. The team plays with energy. They share the ball. I mean, the thing that I find interesting, Mike, and I looked at it last night is, how is this Joel Embiid situation going to play out? I mean, he goes out of the game last night and they're losing big. They rally in the fourth quarter without him for the second time in 4 games. They rallied in Boston when he was on the bench. And I said to myself after that game was over, I said, let me take a look at the box score. I got to see what Embiid did here. And I look at the box score, and he scored 20-something points in the game. And then I said,
25.
well, maybe he wasn't. Yeah, I said maybe he wasn't great defensively. And then I go to the plus-minus, and the Sixers were +9 with Embiid on the floor. So really interesting how this team and how Nick Nurse is going to juggle, the energetic performances you got from Bona in the final minutes with Embiid when he's not on a minutes restriction and when Paul George comes back. It's going to be an interesting sort of tightrope for the 76ers to dance, when these players come back.
I agree. Embiid, 25 points last night. Between the 3 centers, they had 33 points, 20 rebounds, and 5 blocks. You wonder if they can knit these 3 together and kind of make that work. Is that something, obviously Embiid at some point will get back to, I would assume, some sort of normal role. When? Who knows? He doesn't seem to know when this minute restriction is going to end.
Yeah, it's very interesting, Mike, because, again, I went to that box score last night saying to myself, wow, they really picked it up when Embiid came out of the game. Embiid must have been a disaster during the game when he was far from a disaster. But yet I don't know if they come all the way back if they don't have Bona making the plays on the defensive end of the floor that he did in the closing minutes, plays that I don't think Joel Embiid is capable of making right now and may never be able to make again. So, again, it's going to be interesting to watch that play out on a night-in and night-out basis. But right now I think you could say that for the first time in a while, in 2 to 3 seasons, I think there's positive energy around the 76ers, and there's just a feel-good starting to build around the team that hasn't been there in recent seasons.
Well, yeah, and listen, people are already making the judgment. They're better without him. They got him, he scored 25 points, was a +9. He still has his presence, but you're right. How in the end will he kind of fit in? Because it looks like they have put an offense in, Mike, for the first time in the Embiid era that is not catered to him. It's catered to him not being there, and he just kind of fits into it when he comes back out on the court, meaning, hey, he sets screens, they double Maxey passes it back to him, and he's kind of wide open in these spots on the floor that he generally likes. That's seemingly the way they have set this offense up, but it's generally set up for Maxey, Edgecombe, Grimes, and those guards to be able to flourish.
Yeah, I think, and one of the problems that the 76ers have had over the years with the Embiid absences is what you just kind of pointed out right there. There's been almost like two teams. There's been the team with Embiid and the team without Embiid. And if the offense, and I love this approach that Nick Nurse takes, and I would hope that he would keep it up, design an offense that really benefits, the guys that are going to be there all the time, the young guys, and then let Embiid fit into that offense when he's healthy enough to play and the minutes he's on the court. Obviously, it works well. The guy had 25 points last night and was +9. If he doesn't score those 25, are they further behind and they can't make a comeback? So it's really interesting to see how this will play out going forward, because the one thing that would bother me is I think a basketball team has to have some chemistry. It has to have some synergy. It has to know that I know where you are on a certain play without picking up my head, and I can just put the ball there and trust that you're going to get it and stuff like that. And that's one thing that you can't build if you don't have everybody on the court at one time. So that's a danger point for them. But so far, they navigated it great. They're 4-0. They're fun to watch. They've got talented young players, and there's a good buzz around the team for the first time in 2 or 3 seasons. So a great start for the 76ers so far.
No question. We'll get the poll question up to date. Are people in on the Sixers so far? We'll update that here in about 10 minutes. Jake Fisher reporting that there's some positive momentum about Paul George making his season debut sometime in the next week. How does Paul George fit into this?
Well, it'd be an interesting question to see. Look, here's what I'll say. These guys, Paul George is a talented enough basketball player. These guys are like basketball geniuses to a degree. Paul George can fit in and play with this group. He knows how to play with this group. In fact, I think it might be easier for Paul George to fit in with this group than it is for Embiid, because I think George, despite the leg injuries, this is a more fast-paced offense. It's an offense built around, guys going. It's an offense built for wings and guards. Well, what's Paul George? He's a wing. So I think he can fit into this offense easier than Joel Embiid can. So I don't have the worries that I do about Embiid with Paul George. I think if Paul George comes in, takes the right approach, maybe, acts like part of the team and not be a guy that says, I've got to get my 20 shots, 15 shots. And I think he will be a guy who's part of the team. I think Paul George will fit very nicely with this group, because I think the way this group plays without Embiid complements what Paul George does well.
It's interesting because I feel like everybody's so down on Paul George that it almost feels like he has to come in here and surprise everybody, right? And be the guy that they signed to kind of step in, hit open threes, because it feels like in this offense, somebody's going to keep getting open looks. Because if you double Maxey and that extra pass gets made and that extra pass is made right, someone's going to be standing there with their hands open, waiting for a catch and shoot, and it could be Paul George.
Yeah. Keep in mind, Mike, Paul George was injured last year. He was banged up. We'll see what kind of shape he's in now when he comes back. But, he's a season removed from playing 70-something games for the Los Angeles Clippers and being one of the top, 20 to 25 guys in the NBA. There's a reason why the Phillies gave him that, the 76ers rather, gave him that contract as a free agent at the end of 2 seasons ago. So again, I think he's a guy, the way they play, passing the ball, shots from the wing, faster pace, I think that fits into Paul George's game. And I think he could be a big piece going forward for them.
Then there's McCain, who could be back in a couple of weeks. I'm really intrigued to see how McCain gets entered into the Maxey, Edgecombe, Grimes. Do they play 4 guards? Nurse kind of insinuated that he likes that look possible. That would be a really small team, but with Bona out there and those 4 guys, that could be some fun.
Yeah, he gives you options, right? The one thing I think you got to watch is what you said there is perfect. Small team, right? I mean, defensively, I wonder, if you have a backcourt of McCain and Maxey, and you're playing Edgecombe too, and you're playing Paul George, who are you guarding exactly? That defensively could be a problem for you, your lack of size. That's where Embiid and Bona come in. Maybe they can be the 5th guy in that setting, but that's the caveat. That's the thing that Nick Nurse has got to balance out. Yeah, offensively, you're going to create some matchup problems with your size and quickness and your ability to shoot from the outside. How do you balance that, though, with defensively, your lack of size hurting you on the defensive end of the floor? Those are problems that, Nick Nurse and Daryl Morey are going to have to figure out as the season progresses. What lineup optimizes the 76ers?
Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. A lot going on. Did you stay up for the entire Game 3?
I did, well, in and out. And one of my out periods was I fell asleep in about the 16th, 17th inning, and I woke up and Freddie Freeman was crossing home plate. So basically in and out, but not a bad effort by my part. But I think it's just been a tremendous World Series, and I bet you Fox is cheering for a Game 7 on Saturday night because I'd like to see the rating on that one.
Yeah, they were getting decent ratings so far anyway with these two teams. You're kind of mixed. However, you're right. I mean, you're one of these guys that remembers World Series and stuff like that. I mean, for this to be 2-2, Blue Jays, Dodgers, you had Ohtani pitch last night coming off of the 18-inning game. This is going down as an all-timer if it can get to number 7 because there has been – that game alone had World Series moments in it that you'll always remember.
Yeah, I mean, Game 3, Mike, is one of the greatest baseball games I've ever seen. I was smart enough, however, to hit the record button. I was, frantically recording on my TV in case I fell asleep. So I'm recording what is, of course, the TV thinks it's going to be infomercials or something, but I'm recording the game, and I was able to rewind and watch the last inning and stuff like that. Just that game alone, and I'll give you, you get older, you root, you don't root. But my heart was in my throat when Clayton Kershaw was on the mound with the bases loaded in the 12th or the 13th inning. Here's one of the greatest pitchers in Dodger history, and it's probably his last time out there for the Dodgers. And boy, if he had given it up there, what a terrible way to go out, and what a terrible add on to already checkered postseason history. So the fact that Kershaw was able to escape that jab, that's one of the greatest moments in World Series history. Never mind the game went 18 innings. Never mind Freddie Freeman won it with a home run. And never mind that Ohtani hit 2 home runs and got on base 9 straight times. So, boy, if you like sports, I don't know what more you could want from a World Series than have it 2-2 going into a Game 5 tonight and the possibility of a Game 7 on Saturday.
Well, and not only that, Mike, you just talked about it. He got on base all 9 times. He got intentionally walked 3 times in the game and then got walked again really unintentionally, intentionally the 4th time up there. He didn't swing the bat 1 time in 10 straight innings. He didn't swing from the 7th inning to the 17th inning when he came up. And think about this. George Springer got hurt in the 9th inning, and his replacements combined to take 6 more at-bats in the game, and Springer not playing last night and the Dodgers winning that game with Ohtani pitching, just oozing with stuff moving forward because after they win the way they do in that 18-inning game, you're thinking Ohtani's pitching, and this thing's lights out, and no Springer, and they win that game. Just an unbelievable. The drama in that series is really worth everybody's time watching it there. But so many moments. I'm glad to hear that you made it somewhat to the end. I made it all the way through to the end. 2:53 is when I finally, and literally, as soon as that ball went over the fence, I hit power off of my television. I didn't even need to see him round the bases. I was ready to go to bed on that one. We'll go to bed on this conversation. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofAC.com, and we'll take a look at the weekend on Friday when Mike's back here on the Sports Bash. Thanks, Mike.
All right, enjoyed it, Mike. We'll see you down the road. Thank you.
As always, Mike will be back on Friday's show, and he is, of course, over at the Press of Atlantic City, pressofAC.com, where you can read all of Mike's coverage of the locals here. All right, coming up, another chance for you at 99 Bottles, and Mike McGarry is brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. What else we got coming up? Q Myers at 3 o'clock. We'll go around the NFL as we do each and every week with Q. We got the Nuggets today. Mosher is here for football for Keith Pompey tonight on the Sixers. We got the poll question up to date. We'll answer the poll question and refresh it next here on the Sports Bash. 251, Sports Bash Live. Let's get the poll question up to date for you here at Mike Gill Show. You can vote. Here we go. See what the people think today, Josh. Are you all in on the Sixers 4-0 and the Flyers 5-3-1 so far this season? Sixers, Flyers, both? Nah, too early. Vote at Mike Gill Show right now. A couple text messages I want to get to. Phil in Brigantine, one of our great listeners who always chimes in, says, Mike, I don't spend a lot of time watching Flyers or Sixers full games. It's way too much, but I like to tune in when possible to the latter stages, and glad I did last night. Wow. Both teams have tremendous energy, speed, and youth. Really fun to watch, making positive headlines for a change. Would you predict today that the Sixers will finish top 4 and the Flyers will make the playoffs? Well, I said before Sixers top 5. I do think the Sixers will finish in the top 5. I said that before the season started. I didn't need to see them play these 4 games. I thought they were good enough. People were just so down on them last year and really didn't really watch them. They gave up on them, which is understandable, but you were watching a team that was just half-assed last year. No Embiid, no George, no Maxey, no McCain. What you think they were going to be? And the fact that they bagged it when they did allowed them to get Edgecombe. Now you bring those guys back. Daryl Morey, who's much maligned, he said, look, I made a mistake last year. I signed all these old guys thinking that they would help us make a deep playoff run. Well, when Embiid gets hurt and George gets hurt and Maxey gets hurt, you ain't making the playoffs. So he broke that team up quickly, and the results were they ended up with the 3rd pick of the draft. They ended up with Quentin Grimes, and they added a couple youthful pieces that fit a lot better with this team than some of the guys they got last year. So I did say before the season started, Sixers will be a top 5 seed in the East. Flyers make the playoffs. I'm not so sure I'm ready to go there yet. Their goaltending situation needs to be tightened, maybe. Vladar has been very good, but he's here because he has not been very good in his past. Erison, I never thought, to me, has been a number 1 guy. Defensively, they're not good enough. They don't score all that much. So I have a harder time with the Flyers making the playoffs, but I watched full game almost last night, full game Saturday, full game. So I've watched like probably 3 more full games this year than I watched last year already. And I would say I don't see a playoff team yet. Can the goaltender change my mind? Can they add a defensive player? Do they get more scoring from somebody? Tyson Forrester, he's a very good player. Nate at the front desk is a hockey guy. Asked me the guy who I like the best. He thought I was going to say Michkov. I said Forrester. He's the guy who impresses me the most so far.
Look, I think the guy who had the big record moment last night is a huge part of the Flyers' success. It's going to be Travis Konechny. He got his 200th goal last night. He used to be the young guy. Now he has to ascend into the veteran guy, and I think that his leadership's going to be a key.
Those guys are what they are, though. I don't think he's going to go from 25 goal score to 60.
No, but do you need him to do that is the question.
No, but you need someone else to score 30 then.
True.
Somebody's got to be the other goal scorers. You can't have him scoring 25 to 30 and he be your best.
And that's part of the reason why you have a guy like Michkov and Zegras here is because you're hoping those guys can be that guy.
Poll question. Are you in on the Sixers and the Flyers so far? 33% say Sixers, 4% Flyers, 47% say both.
Let's go.
And 14% say, nah, too early. We'll update the poll question throughout the show. You can vote at Mike Gill Show. More Sports Bash coming up. When we return, Q Myers is in the house. Stick around. And there's our contest sounder right now, 609-573-3776, 609-573-3776. Caller number 7. You are entered for this year's 99 Bottles Party, which means you have a shot to win tickets, club box seats to see the Eagles-Bears on Black Friday at the Link, and other awesome tickets as well. Flyers tickets, Sixers tickets, concert tickets, tickets to area shows, and more. It's this year's 99 Bottles Party at Maynard's in Margate, where you must be present to win on Wednesday, November 26th, the day before Thanksgiving. It's our biggest party of the year. 99 qualifiers, 99 winners, including caller 7 right now, 609-573-3776. Keep that number handy. Another chance coming up. next hour on the Sports Bash. Stick around. Welcome back, everybody. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, as we drift into the 3 o'clock hour. Hour one, the Sixers 4-0. Flyers winners last night. 2 fun games in Philadelphia. Are you back on board with the winner teams who have really been irrelevant for the last couple of years? We'll continue the conversation. Keith Pompey, who covers the Sixers, at 5 o'clock tonight. And, of course, you can vote at Mike Gill Show. Are you in on the Sixers and the Flyers so far this season? Let us know at Mike Gill Show. All right, we got a lot going on. Eagles at the bye week. We like to spin around the NFL and all the top stories with Q Myers, of course, from Game Night. You can hear him weeknights on 97.3 ESPN. And he joins us right now, as we do each and every week at this time, to kind of look at the state of the NFL midweek. Q Myers is back. What's up, my brother? How are you?
I'm great, man, and the answer is yes. I'm yes when it comes to the Sixers. I'm in. Sign me up. And hey, I know we're supposed to be talking NFL, but I couldn't wait to get on to talk with you. I've been talking about the 76ers on game nights. You've heard me multiple times. I've had a lot of questions and criticism, really, of the organization. But I love this backcourt of Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. And I'll tell you, and even earlier on when I wasn't on game night and was on a little bit earlier on in the day, and VJ Edgecombe was drafted, I said, that's going to be a guy you better watch out for. I thought he was a better pro than he was a collegiate. Like, his game translated better in the NBA. And as you know, coming from Central Texas, I obviously keep a tight eye on the Baylor program. Coming from Baylor and being coached by Scott Drew, I knew he had a little something in his neck, man. And so I love that player, what he's been able to do. You tag team him with Tyrese Maxey. Philadelphia's got something. And the best part of the whole scenario, Joel Embiid is like a number 3, right? And so you're not leaning on him to be number 1. So now, as long as he can continue to get his, cardio right, be able to increase his minutes, you can get him to the finish line without having to not take games, but just take games off because he has to load management, because you have 2 dudes, 2 studs, and Maxey and VJ Edgecombe in the backcourt that can carry the load as they've been doing so far, undefeated on the season. Yes, sign me up, sign me up, sign me up. I'm good. I'm in on the Sixers.
I think we have a mutual friend who may have also told us he's a big fan of VJ Edgecombe, because I know he texted me the other night and said, I told you VJ was going to be a dog for you guys, and so far it's been so good. The Sixers have been fun and exciting. People are trepidatious here because of all the scars they have from the past couple of years, specifically last year, which was, I believe, the worst season in the history of the franchise. I mean, I just think last year was so miserable. There was never a high point. There was never an exciting time. The first 4 games this year have already provided more excitement. And if it's reached the level of people taking notice 4 games in, I think that's something right there, is that they got 2 guards right now, and they're winning games without Joel Embiid being the centerpiece. There's your story.
Exactly. And look, I'm a Warriors fan, right? And I remember when there was a time when the Warriors were not a very good team. I lived through all the dark days, of all kind of players like Chris Gatling, and, even hanging with Mr. Cooper had a minute with the Warriors. Like, I hung with all the bad play. But when they got that guard play right, when they got this guy named Steph Curry and Klay Thompson to be that backcourt, things started to really turn around. I think Philadelphia could go a lot faster and be a lot better organization quicker than it took even the Warriors when they got those 2 dudes. Paul George, I wouldn't have a problem if they found a way to move him. But if you have Joel Embiid and he's able to, give you something and stay healthy and not have to be the guy that they rely on, the 76ers could be a fun team to watch. So I'm looking forward to that backcourt, my man.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on them. Maxey, 39 points, 10 assists last night in that game over the Wizards, 139-134. We talked about it in the first hour. He's the first Sixer with 35 or more points in 3 of the first 4 games. That was an Iverson guy back there. You might have heard of him, and Maxey has supplanted that. Embiid did score 25 points in 23 minutes, and, he's not making an impact on the defensive end. That's where people are worried. Bona, my Lord, Bona last night came in the fourth quarter and absolutely changed that game. However, let's get into the bye week news and notes here for the Eagles and all around the league. They had their best, most complete game on Sunday, and A.J. Brown didn't play. Right. Do you read anything into that at all, or is it just, hey, everybody, this is getting blown out of proportion. It's a bye week. It's a slow time for y'all. Calm down.
Now, there's got to be something there, man. It's just there's got to be something there. I just don't know exactly what it is. I can't put my finger on exactly where the disconnect is, but there's a problem somewhere, right? Do the quarterback and the wide receiver not like each other? Do they just – I don't know what it is. It just, to me, doesn't make any sense, and they're a really good, talented team, and you can see how good they could be. And, maybe having A.J. Brown out for a game made them be more balanced and be more complete. I don't know exactly what it is, but it just seems like there's something there. And we've talked about it for years now, where there's smoke, there's fire. We've seen situations, they bring what? They bring Graham back to provide some kumbaya in the locker room. It's something is going on, man. And I don't want to be the guy who's the bearer of bad news, but at some point there's going to be a tell-all book, like the behind the walls there with the Philadelphia Eagles, because there's a lot going on behind the walls, I do feel like.
Well, it's like, it's odd that, your own Adam Schefter has to come out multiple days and doubling down on that the Eagles don't want to trade A.J. Brown. There's other outlets that also are talking about, well, they don't want to, but I can't imagine they really want to trade A.J. Brown. This is a team that wants to win the Super Bowl. Right. So it does, and by the way, if they trade him, the cap hit is astronomical. Right. Now, they have traded Carson Wentz in the past and took on that cap hit, but that seems like a completely different situation. This would almost have to be, you gave us Myles Garrett and we just couldn't say no to something like this, because if they truly want to win a Super Bowl, you can't get fooled by what you saw on Sunday, right?
No. He's a key to the success of this team. And it's funny, and you know better than I do, so I'll throw it your way. I feel like this team is comfortable being uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that they're almost in their comfort zone when there's some chaos, when there's some concern, where there's issues, where there's a little edginess. I feel like that, and that's kind of like their head coach, right? Nick Sirianni is kind of that guy. He's going to make you feel a little uncomfortable. He's going to get a little uncomfortable. He's edgy. He's this, that, and the other. I think that they might be one of these organizations and teams in particular that is a little comfortable being uncomfortable. And it's just weird to see from a distance, but that's kind of how it seems to me. Again, just kind of paying attention and trying to make sense of what doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, even though they're still successful.
Well, I don't know if you're aware, Q Myers, but people in Philly are not happy all the time, and they generally like to grovel and complain. The Sixers are 4-0, and it's, well, Joel Embiid can't play. He stinks. Get rid of him. It's not, hey, this team is a lot of fun. It's more of the negative, and then they win, and it's like, well, A.J. Brown didn't play. That must mean something. You can never just say we have nice things. Like, it is a very weird dynamic that there's always the negative that gets blown up. But the A.J. Brown thing is kind of interesting in that he's never asked to be traded. He's never really said anything, but all of his kind of weird social media patterns don't know what to make of them, right? We're just constantly like, ooh, he scrubbed Jalen's, all the praise towards Jalen. Who would go and look for that? How would you even piece that together?
I'm glad you said that, because I've never understood that. Whenever people start putting the social media stuff and they start tying it all together, and I'm thinking, I don't have enough time for even figuring out how you start to do that, let alone actually go and do it. But there's folks out there that do it, and they try to put the tea leaves together. Look, I don't need to go into the social media stuff. All I got to do is look at the eye test and just seeing the antics and just kind of hearing what he has to say, then seeing him going out there and play. Look, I'll tell you this. I don't think that the Eagles want to trade him. I think that for win a Super Bowl, they need him. There's a lot of teams that could use him, right? There's a lot of teams that could use the A.J. Brown and said, we'll take some of the issues that he may have and some of the, unhappiness that he may have at time, because the production on the field is really good. And, there's been guys like that all the time. T.O. was a guy that was very edgy, but he was very good, right? And so people would take him. Philly knows him very well, right? He did sit-ups on the damn driveway. I mean, there's guys like that. Randy Moss had times like, and these are Hall of Famers I'm talking about, but A.J. Brown, he could be one of those guys that's a little edgy, a little different, and still very productive. And, Antonio Brown, right? Until you just couldn't take him anymore. He was one of those guys too. Sometimes that's just who they are.
All right, Q Myers, game night, weeknights on 97.3 ESPN. He's the host. He's here with us, of course, Wednesdays. We kind of spin the stories around midweek here, so let's look at some of the stories midweek where we are. I'm going to start with the NFC East. Philadelphia, Dallas, Washington went to the NFC Championship game last year, and the Giants at 2-6. Is that division Over.
I mean, it feels like it. It really does. Dallas can't stop me and you from scoring. I mean, they're just not very good defensively, and their offense was really stymied by the Broncos. I mean, the Broncos showed you what a number one defense looks like. That was incredible what they were able to do. Dallas's offense has been really good, and it didn't look very good at all. Their defense, I don't know. I thought they were going to make a move for a big defensive player, and they still might. But after losing that game to Denver, that might be we're not really one defensive player away. And Jerry Jones has said that. So I don't know if this Dallas team is really going to be what it looks like. Washington feels like it's regressed, and Jaden Daniels can't stay healthy. That's an issue moving forward. The Giants just lost Cam Scatterboo. They have some help with Jackson Dart, but they don't have enough. Malik Neighbors is out. Scatterboo's out. I think you kind of know how that season's going to play out, but at least they have their quarterback of the future. And then you got the Eagles. And I feel like that they're in the driver's seat by default. If nothing else, they're a really good team. They've got their own issues, but at least on the field, they can put it together and win a bunch of games. So I think that Philadelphia really does have this NFC East locked. I don't say locked down, but they're in the driver's seat. Let's put it like that.
Let's spin to the north. Is it a two-team race? Or are the Bears out of this thing?
No, they're not out of it, but they showed what still ails them, right? And that they need to get consistent.
That was a bad loss.
Yes, it was. It was a very bad loss, and so they don't get consistent quarterback play from Caleb Williams. Their defense makes plays, but then they're leaky at times. There's definitely a lot of concern still with Chicago. But if you're a Bears fan, you feel good that you think that this can get turned around in the right direction under Ben Johnson's leadership, and even Caleb Williams is the quarterback. He just has to figure out how to be more consistent.
All right, let's go to the South. Tampa Bay. Carolina's 4-4. They got the doors blown off them against Buffalo, and Atlanta looked terrible with Cousins. So is this a Tampa runaway? You there?
I don't know if it's a runaway just yet, but I've never been on board that Carolina was going to make this great run, right? And so we'll see how they bounce back after that terrible loss, like you said. And Atlanta, they're so heckle and jive, man, or jive, whatever the thing is.
Jekyll and Hyde.
Thank you. That man, whatever. Anyway, they're one day they look really good. Next day they look really bad. Next game they look good again. It's just, what are we doing? So I don't know who Atlanta is. So until they can figure out who they are, I think this is what you're going to get. That team needs to go through Bijan Robinson, and it needs to always go through Bijan. We'll see how they bounce back, but that was an awful loss. Especially, Miami's an awful team. Right, we're on Coach McDaniel watch to see when he's going to get fired, and they go and get the doors beat off him. That didn't make any sense to me.
The West is a 3-team race. Seattle, Rams, Niners. Q Myers goes with.
Ooh, man, I think every week we change the answer to this one, right? Seattle, Rams, 49ers. I think
that was a bad loss by the Niners.
It was. Yes, it was. I don't know why I feel like I try to avoid the Rams just because I don't trust Matt Stafford to stay healthy, but they seem to find ways to get it done and look better, right? And so Seattle, I still have some questions around them. I'm not 100% with Sam Darnold, but I think that they could play. I feel like it's a two-team race between the Rams. Ooh, man, the Rams let's go with the Rams in Seattle in that one.
I like the Rams. I'll tell you why. I like the Rams, but Seattle's interesting. San Francisco, I don't know what to make of them because of the quarterback situation. There was a time where it looked like Mac Jones was the better fit. Now is he starting to wear, thin a little bit, and you need to get Purdy back? I don't know what to make of that team, so I like the Rams over there. Let's flip to the AFC. New England, Buffalo. Who you got?
I still have Buffalo. I still have Buffalo because I just think that with Josh Allen and his experience that, they're the better team. But, man, New England looks good, don't they? Drake May looks really good. Him and Josh McDaniels, that's a nice 1-2 punch as an offensive coordinator and quarterback. And that's Josh McDaniels' best role, by the way, is OC. I think that Patriots are going to be where they need to be. Vrabel's a hell of a head coach. I still think it's Buffalo's division, though. I think Buffalo's going to be the better team when it's all said and done. I think that the youth in New England is going to show at some point. It's going to pop up and say, yeah, they're still learning. They're still trying to figure out how to win games. But Mike Vrabel and the Patriots and Patriot fans have to feel great about the direction that team's going.
Yeah, that one's going to be fun. I like Buffalo for now, but I'm not completely would not be completely shocked if the Patriots were here to stay. Q Myers from Game Night. We're looking through the NFL 8 weeks into the season, by the way. Week 9 starts tomorrow night. I actually like Baltimore in the North, believe it or not. They get Lamar back on Thursday night. Their schedule is really manageable, and manageable in a way that I don't know that they need to get to like 11 wins here. I think 9 or 10 might get the job done.
No, I agree. And, with them showing some signs with their defense, that was what stood out to me when they played Chicago, was that defense, that they were able to make plays. And that's something that we've been talking about, is like, where is this Baltimore defense? The fact that they were able to step up, and the fact that they finally put Snoop Huntley in there as opposed to, having Cooper Rush, who's nothing like Lamar Jackson at all. I think that made a lot of sense. So now you get Lamar back, and the defense is starting to get healthy and coming around.
Yeah.
Roquan Smith, having him there is huge. He is just the ultimate linebacker, man. He's one of my favorite linebackers in the league to watch. And as long as you have that captain, and you have Kyle Hamilton out there as well, you're giving yourselves a chance. So I do like Baltimore, and I think you're right. That division, you can get 9, maybe 10 wins and win that division.
It looks like Indianapolis is a clear bet in the South. Jacksonville's 4-3. And then the West, you have Denver, Chargers, Chiefs, 3 teams. And I look at that division and say you're probably going to get 3 playoff teams from that division.
You could. I'm still questionable on the Chargers, though. Even though they started out 3-0 and 3 wins in the division, I'm still questionable if the injuries that they've suffered, if that's going to be too much. Is Justin Herbert and the Chargers going to play a really good, solid game? We saw them on Thursday night against Minnesota, and they picked up a victory, and that was cool, but they had Carson Wentz there in Minnesota, so I'm not 100% confident there that that's exactly who we're going to see moving forward. But in Denver, I still have questions about Denver and their offense, right? Their defense is incredible. Their defense is fantastic, man. That's what every team's defense wants to look like, a team that can get home with the front 4 and then make plays on the back end. And that's who Denver is, right? They create turnovers. They do all that. But I still question, is Bo Nix going to take them to the promised land? So the way it looks to me, it feels like it's Kansas City's division until it's not. So even though I know technically they're in 3rd place in the division, I think that you're going to see a race to the finish, and there ultimately might be only 2 teams that make the playoffs. It could end up being as easy as like Denver and Kansas City makes the playoffs, and the Chargers on the outside looking in, and the Raiders are trying to find Jesus.
I think well, I just don't know that I see Buffalo, New England, the winner of the North, the winner of the South, and then the 3 teams in the West. I think that's, I don't know if Jacksonville, Houston sneak in.
Right.
The other North team, I don't think makes it. So I do think the 3 teams out West would get in. But we got another half of the season to go, and we'll keep spinning around here with Q Myers from Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Weeknights at 10 o'clock. Now, I would ask you, weeknights at 10, you're usually on the air. Did you make it up? Now, you're out in Vegas, so right. I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning for the 18-inning game. Did you stay up on, what are you on, Pacific time or are you on Mountain time?
No, I'm on Pacific time. I stayed up. Yeah, it was the best show that you didn't hear.
You stayed up till 12.
Yes, I was up till midnight. I had a headset on just like I have on right now, ready to go. Had my partner Emmett Golden on the other end. We were ready to go. We planned out the best show ever. Never was heard, because the game ended up lasting until well past we were supposed to be on. We were supposed to stay on with the World Series on until 2 a.m. And, well, as you know, the game went past 2 a.m. So, yeah, that was the best show that was never heard.
I saw people tweeting at you saying, we want to hear your live commentary on that. And then, obviously, the series has pulled us in. I mean, if you're not a fan of either team, you've got this element of the high-priced Dodgers. Now, by the way, the Blue Jays are the 5th highest payroll in baseball, but nobody knows that because they're just so, under the radar. Mm-hmm. But it's been a fun series. Even last night's game, 6-2, I guess 6-1, had some moments in the game. You have Ohtani pitching, and it was, this series has been really fun. Game number 5 tonight is right here on 97.3 ES. What are you coming on after the game?
Yeah, I'll be on right after the game. Hey, I'll tell you, man, this series, you hit it, is perfect. This series has been so much fun. It's now the best of 3, and the Blue Jays, they aren't backing down from anyone, right? It's like the Dodgers are Debo, and the Blue Jays are Craig. And they ain't worried about Debo, right? They're like, we got this. Every time you think the Blue Jays are down against the Yankees, they bounce back. Against the Mariners, they bounce back. Now against the Dodgers, and they bounce back. The Blue Jays ain't going nowhere. I would not be shocked if this goes 7. I can't wait.
I like that as well. All right, Q Myers here from Game Night as we get ready to wrap up. We take a spin around the NFL, all the top stories. I want to get your quick thoughts on this NBA gambling bombshell and where it kind of stands. It almost feels like it happened, and now it's where is this thing?
I think everyone's waiting for the next shoe to drop, right? Because I've been that guy. I've been waiting to hear what's going to be next. Like, we found out about the year that Terry Rozier was, accused of basically pulling themselves out of games. He was like $8 million in tax liens. That was the IRS had already filed that. So, I mean, we're starting to find out a little bit of information here and there. But, man, I feel like this is the tip of the iceberg. It really is. And when the FBI is involved, Mike, it's a big deal. Like, I came on the air right after that and said, look, there's nothing that Q Myers can do that the FBI is going to get involved in. I don't make enough money, right? I don't make enough money for the FBI to be involved in anything that I have going on. So when the FBI is involved, tens of millions of dollars are involved, and that's exactly what it is. This is just getting started.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I did hear, I was talking about this the other day, in that because this happened and you're thinking there would be so much backlash, and it seemingly has kind of gone under the radar a little bit, but are NBA fans so desensitized to this because teams have been tanking purposely, and that has been celebrated by the fans for so long that it's like, hey, you've been losing on purpose. What the hell do I care?
I mean, you could look at it that way, but when you start talking about money and folks betting on player props and the unders and this, that, and the other and getting some kind of unfair advantage, then I think fans are starting to look at it like, wait, hold on. Now, how do I know that what I'm playing, this is going to be straight up or this is already predetermined? So I think that folks are concerned, and that's why the NBA is not concerned about poker. They're not worried about poker matches that may be rigged and all that other stuff. They don't care about that. They care about making sure that everyone feels like the integrity of the game is when their money is on the line is there. That's the biggest thing here, and it doesn't feel like it is. And there's many different instances. And the funny thing is, this is a perfect example of it. So last night the Warriors are playing the Clippers. James Harden has 20 points in the first half. James Harden ends the game with 20 points. And I remember mentioning it on the show last night. I was like, how do you not have even a bucket in the second half when you had 20 in the first half? And Myron Metcalf said, it's a bad time to be questioning performances. And I was like, damn, it's a good point. But that's what's going to happen. People are going to start wondering, wait a minute, how did this dude have 20 in the first half and not even get to the free throw line and get a bucket in the second half? What are we doing?
Listen to Q Myers on game night as more of that comes out. And, of course, you can listen to that right here on 97.3 ESPN. Last one, all the college football firings. What's the job Q Myers would take if he was offered?
Oh, man. Whew, that's
LSU, you a Florida guy, Penn State, where are you going? Oklahoma State, going to grow a mullet?
No, not going to do any of that. I think I would take the Alabama job if it was open. That's the one I would take. No.
I want one that's open. Open now. LSU, Oklahoma State, Florida, Penn State, Virginia Tech. No. One of those jobs.
Look, I'll take LSU. That's
LSU. The best one?
Yeah, it's the best one. It recruits itself, right? It makes all the sense in the world. And I'm not going to go down there and try to pretend to be someone that I'm not. I'm not always going to have some kind of accent that I never had and act
the
like
stuff on right now about him trying to get a job in Hawaii and Jamaica. I mean, it is classic.
Yes.
For my family.
Give me a job in Hawaii. I'll take a job in Hawaii. I'll tell you that. I don't care what job it is. I'll work it in Hawaii. You give me that job. I'll take it.
It's funny. My girlfriend went to East Carolina, and we generally will go to the bowl game. Like last year, they played in the military bowl. They're smaller bowls. So one of the bowl projections is the Hawaii Bowl. I was like, hey, what do you think? Could go if you're invited. If you want to come, I think it's December 27th.
I go. Fun fact: I go on vacation. Me and the wife go on vacation once a year. We go every year to Hawaii. That is my one place that I get away and I don't do any work and I just decompress to the max. That's the one place that I can get away and do that. So that's my happy place.
Well, he's doing work tonight on game night after World Series game number 5, which you can hear right here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll pick up the World Series after actually, no, it's no Sixers tonight. No Sixers tonight. So right to the World Series, followed by this man right here, Q Myers on game night, which you can hear on 97.3 ESPN. Weeknights at 10 p.m. All right, Q, good to see you, pal.
All the time, man. Thanks so much.
All right, Q Myers, everybody here on the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. And don't forget, when the Eagles win, you win. It's a free order of spicy tandoori chicken wings for dine-in customers. All you got to do is tell them, hey, Sports Bash Nizam's Free tandoori chicken wings, Eagles game. Let me have my wings, everybody. You can get that lunch buffet on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and they have a great banquet space that can have your holiday party for up to 100 people for private events. Don't forget, listen for that cue to call coming up as well here on the Sports Bash. 99 bottles. We'll have another qualifier this hour. All right, 3:32 on the Sports Bash. I'm Mike Gill. What's up, everybody? At Mike Gill Show. Follow along. Be a part of the show. Text board open, 609-403-0973. Want to give a shout-out to our 2 o'clock hour qualifier, Amber in Beasley's Point. Hey, Amber. We'll see you at Maynard's in Margate. Another chance for you to qualify coming up this hour on the Sports Bash. We got the UnSportsmanLike Moment of the Day coming up in about 20 minutes from now. Sixer win last night. A lot of people talking about that on the text board. And at Mike Gill Show, people are voting. Are you in on the Sixers and the Flyers, one or the other? See what the voting is up to right now. Sixers 33%, Flyers 4%, both 47%. Nah, too early, 14%. So about 47% are into both teams. Pretty good.
I like that.
Keep voting at Mike Gill Show. All right, so we got some sound we want to play that kind of stood out about this 4-0 start and some other things. Tim Legler was on the Ringer podcast with Bill Simmons the other day, and it seems that, you heard what Q Meyer said. Generally Q and I will talk football, but he broke right in and said, I'm all in on this Sixer team. And I've seen a lot of the national folks already getting all in on this Sixer team. It seems that a lot of people are already kind of like, you know what? Something's different about this team. Something I like about this team. So let's hear some of the things that Tim Legler has pointed out about why he likes this particular Sixers team so far. One of the things he says is that Legler looks at Edgecombe as a guy who kind of like, I always talk about shifting gears. Like when you watch basketball, some players only have like one speed. And sometimes it's great that they only have one speed if it's a high speed, but they don't know how to kind of like shift gears. And that's one of the things that has stood out about VJ Edgecombe so far, that he can kind of go from 0 to 60 and then shift it into like 30, 45, and then bang, he can go from relaxed to full speed pretty quickly.
He has the ability to go from a very relaxed state with the ball to buy you in an accelerated state at like a level, like I'm not comparing him to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but it's some of that where it's like all of a sudden he's relaxed, you're slightly relaxed defensively, and then when he decides to go, he goes. That first step in push and acceleration is by guys, or he's forcing you into such a like overreactionary retreat. He can stop and make an 18-foot jump shot. That is a special God-given innate athletic quality that's going to create separation for him all the time.
Yeah, he talked about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's a guy that can get to the rim with regularity, which is a name that if you're comparing him to, I know a lot of people have talked about, some people have said Russell Westbrook. Others have said Dwayne Wade. He kind of has that kind of feel to him. But one of the things is he was not thought of to be a great shooter when he entered the league. But so far, last night, 4 of 8 from three-point range. He has maintained his mechanics that obviously he's worked a lot on.
Watch VJ Edgecombe when he shoots the ball, whether it's at the foul line, a three, or something off the dribble like a pull-up. He is so strong with his follow-through and his wrist. Most young shooters come into the league, and because things are happening faster than they've ever happened, they don't stay with their shot. He is staying with his release better than most young players do, and as a result, he's making shots.
He made 4 of 8 from three-point range last night. If he can continue to shoot the three in the capacity that he is, it would be a huge, huge coup for this team. And think about this. The way that they ended up getting VJ Edgecombe. We talked about it before. So far, the top of the draft class has not worked out all that well for some of these teams. Ace Bailey has really not played all that well. Cooper Flagg has been average at best so far for the Dallas Mavericks. And then, of course, you have Dylan Harper, who's actually been a pretty good player for the 4-0 Spurs. They're the other team, one of the other teams that is undefeated. Dylan Harper was the second pick, and a lot of people said, hey, I wish that he would fall to number 2. He's averaging about 15 points a game. He's more of kind of a ball distributor, kind of a point guard feel to him. 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He kind of does a lot of different things. But the guy who's really stood out is VJ Edgecombe. And Legler talked about how just landing him kind of worked out and how that all kind of played out.
I also loved Edgecombe. And I thought it was like really almost divine intervention for Philly. And I like Ace Bailey too. And Ace Bailey might turn into a really, really high level NBA player. But it's just funny how that played out for Philly once Ace Bailey's like, well, I'm not even going to come interview. And kind of, to me, if I'm running a team, that takes you out of the equation for me. If I hear that, that's right. And I think that kind of led to it.
Yeah, just think about how all the steps happen. As this guy says, I don't want to talk to you. So the Sixers basically backed out of that situation because there's probably a good opportunity to say if he interviews with the Sixers, maybe they like Ace Bailey more. Who knows? But here's this guy who is delusionally confident is how Austin Rivers described him. And it's that combination of his delusion and talent that has kind of put him on the map.
You see the talent. I loved the athletic ability and the strength. But what you don't know until you see a guy take the court in the NBA is what's his confidence level like from day one. Some guys just hit the ground running with that. They don't have that overly deferential gene. And they just go and they just play. That's what Edgecombe is doing. So everything is kind of funneling in that direction for him right off the bat. The guy's sensational.
So the big thing will be then, as this kind of materializes here, what happens when a guy like Paul George returns? So far you have Edgecombe and McCain, by the way. I think the McCain thing is also going to be here. But what happens, let's hear, when you look at Paul George and the role that he could play, what happens when he actually comes back to this lineup?
What's going on right now kind of with their fan base is the lack of availability is just worn on them over years. Yeah. And here's where the issue they're going to run into is going to be a problem for them. You get a guy like Paul George, for instance. So his team's playing great, fast, fun, all these touches from Maxey and Edgecombe, Quentin Grimes and Oubre are the next two guys, and they got all the freedom in the world. And now, okay, at some point Paul George is going to play, and Embiid's going to be out there certain nights. Everything looks different. It bogs down more. Not that Embiid's not obviously a more dominant player. Guy's an MVP in this league. But it slows everything down. Yeah. It's less touches for these fun, energetic guys.
So what happens then? What happens if Paul George takes touches away from Edgecombe and Maxey and Grimes and how they fit McCain in? Those four guys right now are the four most exciting players they have. So what happens if Paul George takes touches away from those guys?
Paul George's case, I can't imagine, if this team, I don't even know when he's going to play or, what their record's going to be, but if their record's really good and he finally sees the court and all of a sudden it bogs down and he gives you, a 4 for 12er.
Well, how do you think the Philly fans will handle that if
that's what I'm talking
slowing
about.
The game down? During the game in real time, they're going to be turning on him.
It's going to be a mutiny. And now what happens is I've seen this because that's the city I lived in for so long. You go to these games in the any of the sports teams in Philly, and you feel the heaviness being transferred onto the court from the stands, and now it becomes very difficult for that player to kind of navigate through that.
Right, and Paul George, who is a guy who is a 9-time All-Star and is a max player right now. What team doesn't want a 9-time All-Star and a max player to come back? Oh, there's one that right now thinks that he could bog this team down, which is such an interesting thing. Should we be looking at this as hey, maybe Paul George, I don't know. I think that they might be right, is that if he takes touches away, I said before, I think if Paul George could be a 15 to 18 point a game scorer. He doesn't have to be the big-time scorer. He doesn't have to be the 25-point secondary scorer. I think if he could just kind of be that third or fourth guy. By the way, we do have a trade from the Eagles, and it involves a wide receiver. Are you intrigued?
I am intrigued, mostly because of the fact that I was not expecting a trade to happen today. That's so Howie Roseman.
The Jets are sending cornerback Michael Carter and a 7th-round pick to the Eagles in exchange for John Mechie and a 2027 second-round pick. So John Mechie has been traded to the Jets, and the Eagles are getting a corner in return for that. We'll have more on football at 4. Obviously, the Eagles thinking they need some cornerback help, and they go out and get Michael Carter, who I wouldn't think would be much of a game changer here.
I'm trying to do a little research to see what is it in Michael Carter's background that would have led him to be something.
Well, I would say he's got some good versatility. He can play both spots. I mean, he's
because I know he's a slot corner. So is that the thinking that you bring him in to play slot and then move DeJean out to the outside?
I mean, that's possible. The fact that he has versatility, I think, is the one thing. And obviously, Mechie just wasn't fitting in, and you brought him in here thinking that he could be maybe help out in the kick return game. That hasn't happened. So maybe they think that they can get a guy who can compete in that spot, compete in that corner room. He is a slot corner, I would say first and foremost. He's
Correct.
a slot guy. I mean, our boy Cole in LBI probably knows. He signed a pretty decent deal.
He signed a 3-year contract. I think it was like $31 million. I got to look it up.
But you get different coordinators, you get different coaches, and then you don't fit in, all that stuff. So Mechie traded. The Jets get Mechie. Michael Carter, who did sign a 3-year, $30 million deal. He was the highest paid slot corner in football at the time. So we'll see. Does this now mean Michael Carter comes in and plays the slot?
Yeah, 3 years, 30.75 million. But I said 31, but whatever.
Yeah, listen, he's been one of the better nickels, and that's why, at first, I'm like, well, I mean, he's got some versatility, but he's been a better nickel guy. That being said, does this now mean that they look at Cooper DeJean as an outside player?
Well, they might have to. I think that's what this trade says, is that they're saying that, look, Ringo experiment is done. The Dory Jackson hope is out the window. We need to get a guy in the building as soon as possible to start learning our system so we can get him on the field for Monday night against the Packers.
You don't wait till the deadline. You get him in here now because they're going to start practicing. You get him in the building, get the playbook, you get all that going, and then when they have an opportunity to get on the practice field, he's already been here for a couple of days.
Because remember, there's two things that Fangio has said numerous times. One, he looks at nickel corner very differently than outside corner.
Yeah.
He treats them like completely different positions. So if you're bringing in a guy whose expertise is to play nickel corner, that's one part.
Oh, he's definitely a nickel corner first and foremost.
Right. The
There's
second
no
part
question
is
there.
we know that Fangio is a guy who has said that it is more important to know the defense than anything else. And to me, this is a clear sign that Fangio, Howie, and Nick have all talked and said, Ringo's not good enough, Jackson's not good enough, and we do not believe Jacorian Bennett is up to speed enough to take that job on the outside. Is Cooper DeJean ready? It looks like it.
That's what it kind of might say. I assume Cooper DeJean now becomes your outside corner, and Michael Carter goes to the slot. We'll see. We'll talk to Geoff Mosher, Football at 4. 15 minutes on the other side. It is the unsportsmanlike moment of the day. That's coming up next here. Plus, don't forget the 99 Bottles Sounder. Still another chance for that to go off this hour right here on the Sports Bash.
Saquon Barkley had a tremendous season last year. Statistically, he's one of 9 running backs to rush for over 2,000 yards. But there are still 8 other guys to have done that. If he goes over LaDainian Tomlinson's mark of 31 total touchdowns, he's doing something that no other skill position player in the history of our game has ever done. I don't know how he's deniable if that ends up being the case, and the Indianapolis Colts have the best record in the conference. I know that it's a long shot for him to actually eclipse that mark because right now he's on pace for 29 total touchdowns. But in the event that he gets close and the Indianapolis Colts say we want him to break that record and he does it, you have to give him the MVP.
That was Chris Canty this morning on UnSportsmanLike. It's our UnSportsmanLike moment of the day. Canty believes that Jonathan Taylor's season is better than Saquon's season. Is he wrong? It's brought to you by our friends over at Whitehorse RV Center. Find fall closeout savings on 2025s and select pre-owned RVs. Shop now before they're gone. Whitehorse RV, your RV adventure starts here. Well, Jonathan Taylor leads the NFL in rushing in every category: rushing, yards after contact, rushes of 10 or more yards, scrimmage yards, rushing touchdowns, and scrimmage touchdowns. Think about this: 90 or more rushing yards and at least 2 rushing touchdowns in back-to-back games. No Colt player has done that in 3 straight games since the merger, if he does it this week. Also, the league leader in scrimmage touchdowns, 14. 4 games this season when he scored 3 or more touchdowns. It's the most by any player since LaDainian Tomlinson back in 2006. You know what happened that year? Josh, do you have a guess?
LT won the MVP?
That is correct, sir. He won the MVP. That year he set the single-season record for scrimmage touchdowns with 31. That's something that Saquon had the 2,000 yards, but he didn't have a monster touchdown season.
No,
and that might be the difference between Taylor and Saquon. And so far, Canty is right. Taylor's having a bigger year and, dare I say, a bigger impact.
And by the way, don't forget, a lot of those touchdowns were vulture because they kept doing the tush push on the goal line and stuff. So you could argue that Saquon, he probably would have had a more historic year if they would have actually given him the ball.
Pretty crazy that Jonathan Taylor's doing something. 14 touchdowns so far this season. It's more than 5 NFL teams.
And by the way, as I've written about in 973ESPN.com, Jonathan Taylor from South Jersey.
He is a South Jersey alum, native, if you will. By the way, Eagles made a trade. We're going to talk more about it with Geoff Mosher coming up. I will say this. So remember on Tuesday we played the Vic Fangio press conference? And he was asked that if he has any say at the trade deadline when it comes to that, he said minuscule. Now, he did also say that he would prefer to keep Cooper DeJean at the slot. Is he lying by saying he has minuscule, or is he lying by saying he'd rather keep – because Michael Carter is now here. I would assume Michael Carter is going to be playing corner for this team. Is he going to be an outside corner or a slot corner where he has spent most of his time?
I don't think he lied at all. I think what happened was Howard Roseman called him into his office after the press conference and said, you don't have a minuscule role in this. Let's have a conversation right now.
What do you need? What do you need from me?
Right now.
Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, because he said right here, he got asked about it, the fact that he gets utilized. He says, well, he's a really damn good nickel, probably one of the best nickels in the league. We're playing him at corner in the base. He could probably play safety if we needed to. So he did indicate he could do it all, but where will he play? We'll see. That is still to come. More Sports Bash coming up. Geoff Mosher, Football at 4, is next. But first, let me get caller number 7, 609-573-3776. Caller 7, good luck. Right now, you are entered for this year's 99 Bottles Party. Not familiar with 99 Bottles? We have 99 pairs of tickets. 99 people will qualify. Every single qualifier wins a pair of tickets. And right now, caller 7, you have just won a pair of tickets. What event is it to? You must be present to win at Maynard's in Margate on Wednesday, November 26th. And when you get there, you will sign in. And in the order that you get there, we will start calling your name out. So if you're the first person there, you're the first person to pick. If you're the second person there, so on and so forth. The big prize, Eagles, Bears. Black Friday tickets. Caller 7. Good luck. Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast and brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. The Eagles have made a trade. Michael Carter from Duke and a 7th-round pick to the Jets for John Mechie from Alabama, and a 2027 6th-round pick are heading to the Jets. What does it all mean? Let's bring in Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms. Just search Inside the Birds, who joins us as this news just comes down. Michael Carter, a corner who has, signed to some pretty big money, has specialized mostly as a slot guy, Jeff. But I think what most people liked about Michael Carter coming out of college at Duke was his versatility, his ability to play both. But what is the messaging here? You trade Mechie, not a big factor, obviously. You get Carter in return. Is this a guy that factors in your mind immediately on this defense?
I think he can. I think immediately is a vague question. I mean, I don't think they're going to come out on Wednesday or Thursday of next week when they start practice for their Monday night game, and all of a sudden Michael Carter is in the starting lineup. That it doesn't work that way. They have to see what they've got in him. Health is always a case with Michael Carter. He's battled some injuries. He's only played 4 games this year, so they have to first make sure that he's good to go and going to be fine. But Mike, the first thing I thought when I saw the trade report was that Michael Carter has played the slot quite a bit throughout his career with the Jets, maybe even with the Cardinals. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't seen too much Cardinals tape. But he's played the slot, and this is an opportunity, if the Eagles believe he can excel in the slot, then to move Cooper DeJean outside in not just base, but nickel, just a full-time outside cornerback for this year, not for the future, for this year. And that might be their best course of action, as opposed to trying to see what Jacorian Bennett's got, see if they can get Keely Ringo to better, see if there's a corner on the trade market, which is very difficult to bring in a corner on the trade market without giving up a whole lot in return. This might be their best course of action for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you said he probably doesn't play maybe on Monday night against the Jets, against the Packers, but he's out there. But, a guy who got a pretty good deal, 3 years, $30 million at one point. You would think that the Eagles, and Joe Douglas drafted him. Joe Douglas is now here. I'm sure there's some intel of saying, hey, this is a guy that can come in and play for you pretty quickly. I thought it was interesting yesterday when or I guess it was Tuesday, which was yesterday, by the way. That 18-inning game really screwed me up, all right? So,
yes.
But when Vic Fangio was like, I got minuscule input on Howie Roseman making moves, the next day they get him a corner. So is this them saying, hey, we really got to go get something, and let's do it before, the trade deadline so we can get him in here during the bye week and get him up to speed?
That's why you make the trade now. And by the way, let me hit the reverse button, and thank you for not embarrassing me publicly. I did it myself. Michael Carter did not play for the Cardinals this past year. I'm doing like 3
that's
things
the running
at once
back
here. Yeah, that's the running back. And they both happen to be with the Jets at one point. But yeah, so this Michael Carter is coming over from the Jets as a cornerback. I'm now got my brains correct. And again, he played the slot there. So, and yes, the reason why you would want to bring him in is because you would now have some time. He can get familiar with the playbook throughout the bye week. It just gives you a little bit of a head start. Now, it's not like he's out there practicing because the team is probably away during the bye for at least a few days, but it certainly gives him the opportunity to get a head start on the playbook. And again, there's a lot of fact finding that's got to come from the Eagles and from Michael Carter over the first few days he's with the team. And,
so, do you think the Eagles would be against moving Cooper DeJean? Now, he has played both base and nickel, so he's moved to the outside at times, but do you think that they like him playing in that nickel when called for, or would they be okay if they found someone they're comfortable with?
You mean okay with somebody else if they
exactly, like obviously there's not a guy that they feel more comfortable with that they keep moving him back there instead of just saying you're going to stay at this spot. But he's a big factor for them in the run game, playing that nickel slot. I know Vic doesn't like to call them slots, and he likes to call them
but
inside,
you know
what
outside,
I'm saying,
right. Yeah, no, I think that's the point I'm trying to make about the fact finding, Mike, because there's no question, and I'm already getting people, reaching out to me on Twitter of some of the things I said. There's no question that Vic likes Cooper DeJean in the slot, and he probably views him there long term in the slot too, because he's so impactful. But this isn't about long term. This is about right now and what's best for the defense. And they've gotten by over the last 2 weeks of playing Adoree Jackson or Kelly Ringo, right? And really, opponents haven't targeted him too much. I think that's because we're talking about Carson Wentz, who was very erratic, right, and injured, and then Jackson Dart. So then it's going to turn to Jordan Love and Jared Goff pretty soon here, and I don't think they're going to get away with it. So what they can do is see in practice how things go. Is Michael Carter good enough in the slot as a slot defender? As a run defender, does he do the things that good slots can do, that it makes sense to move Cooper DeJean outside? Yes, you might weaken yourself a little bit in the slot, but you might improve yourself even more on the outside. And that's what Vic has to figure out and figure it out pretty soon. Because like I said, the gauntlet starts right over again with the Packers and the Lions. I have no idea if he'll be ready to play Carter in the slot at that point. But I do want to emphasize, because Vic said yesterday in his press conference that Cooper DeJean is too valuable in the slot. They've considered moving him outside, but he's just too valuable. But later in the conference, someone asked him about, well, what would it take or something of that line? He said, well, we would have to solve the slot issue. So even though Vic said that Cooper DeJean is too valuable in the slot to move him out, we have to acknowledge that he talked about the fact that they have considered it. They've already played him outside in base downs, and that what's the biggest impediment to moving him outside was the fact that they didn't have someone that they were comfortable with in the slot.
That's what I was asking before, is like, hey, we would move Cooper out there. We like him there, but if we found someone that could handle that role, the versatility that Cooper brings, he talked about it. He could play safety. He could play outside corner. He could play nickel. I just wonder if he values him so much more in this Swiss Army knife role, or would he prefer to just lock him in on the outside if he had someone that was serviceable? So far, they haven't had that guy, not even close.
Yeah, and that's why I'm very careful in my wording. Even when I'm on social media, I am saying this is a good solution for now, for the short term. It would not surprise me if next year, and we're far from that, but Cooper DeJean right back there in the slot, and they may have somebody, they may draft a corner in the first round who's outside or second round. So
yeah,
I think Vic was pretty clear, and I don't think Vic was being coy or trying to mislead people by saying how important Cooper DeJean is to this defense in the slot. And probably in the future, if they can upgrade the outside corner, he'll probably go back there.
What I think is important for the listeners to also come in on, and the people watching on YouTube, is Carter was drafted by Saleh and that regime. He fit the Saleh defense better than he's fitting the Glenn defense, and he's been banged up. But he is a guy who has been a tackler who can make those plays, and I figure Joe Douglas, who drafted him, said, hey, this might be the answer to some of our issues here. We can move Cooper out if we get a player like this.
Right. And, of course, Joe Douglas is really the one who drafted him in the Jets, so Joe knows him better than anybody. And, there's a really long line of great tackling cornerbacks to come out of Duke University, Mike. I mean, we could spend all day talking about Michael Carter, if I'm making a joke there. But I don't know. I honestly think that, and we've seen this before with trades, where you get a talent and you try your best to see if it works, and if they don't see him as a great slot and they don't want to put Cooper DeJean outside for Michael Carter, it's okay, because there's not tons of financial ramifications to this, right? He had his extension with the Jets, so the money sort of gets drained to them. I saw a report where he's even waiving $5 million injury clause. And then, now if you might like him in your dime, if you want to keep Cooper in nickel, you might play more dime and just keep Ja'Cory and Bennett. If that's the flavor of the week, Ja'Cory and Bennett stays outside. It gives them at very least optionality and improvement in their secondary, because the guy's a good player, even if it doesn't wind up being that he's the slot and Cooper DeJean moves outside for the year.
Right, so obviously one of the questions at the trade deadline, edge rusher, corner. I don't know that this is the answer, but they went out and got a corner today. Michael Carter is the acquisition, and they also get a 7th-round pick from the Jets in exchange for John Mechie and a 2027 6th-round pick. The Mechie thing just never worked out. They got him in this trade, and you thought, hey, this is a guy who was a first-round pick, has a lot of talent. How could we use him? They designed one play for him, and he was terrible on kick returns.
Yeah. The Mechie fit, going back to when they got him, and Adam and I reported on it, good player, obviously had to battle cancer early in his career, but it never sort of made a ton of like they needed this guy, right? Because he's mostly a Z receiver, and you already had John Dotson, and you already had Devontae Smith. They were getting good rookie play from surprisingly good rookie play from Darius Cooper. And it just, they don't throw the ball to anybody other than Brown or Smith enough to, you would think, make it essential. And remember, they actually traded for him before Johnny Wilson got hurt. I think it was the day that he arrived is the day Johnny Wilson got hurt at training camp. So it wasn't like he was traded for to replace. It was just an opportunity to bring in a guy who had some talent, and let's say this Michael Carter thing could be wind up the same thing. It doesn't cost them a whole lot, and if he doesn't make any impact, no big deal.
No, and listen, it doesn't cost them a lot. Mechie, a guy who they were not using at all, and you just basically flipped back-end draft picks here. So you didn't even have to give up, a middle round drafters. You just gave up the player because the Jets are saying, all right, we need a wide receiver so badly. We'll take the shot with the guy who has some talent, and we'll give you a guy that really isn't fitting into what we're doing here.
Yeah. And in some sense, I think that you're going to see a lot of player-for-player trades more in the future because the trade market for really good players, especially at the deadline, it gets to be absurd, right? I mean, you see guys moving for pretty high picks. I mean, the Eagles once traded a 3rd-round pick for Golden Tate. And I know he caught that touchdown against the Bears, which was on a rub route that you could have caught, Mike Gill. It was a schemed touchdown. It wasn't like he did anything all that special, and then he was gone off to the Giants the next year. And then you think, I give him a 3rd-round pick for that. They gave up a 4th-round pick for Jannard Avery. So at this point, it almost seems like the way the trade market is at the deadline, it's so inflated. It's better if you can just give up something low cost to get something low cost that you think has upside and can help you.
Yeah, well, and one thing, too, is everybody is assuming that Michael Carter, who's played almost 80% of his snaps from the slot, he has played outside corner as well. I guess the Eagles can try to give him a run there at practice, see how he fits in with the other guys. But this could be the first door opening to Cooper DeJean kind of moving more full-time to that outside corner spot. They might have seen enough through 8 games. All right, we just got to put our best guy there. What's more important, the outside corner or that nickel spot?
It depends on who you're facing. I honestly believe that. I mean, again, over the last 2 weeks, it's been more important to have a good nickel because nickels are supposed to be good tacklers. Cooper DeJean's great. He blitzed from the slot, which caused a sack when Dart stepped up and right into Jordan Davis. But when you're facing Jordan Love and you're facing Jared Goff, right, and you've got great outside weapons on both of those teams, if you feel like your slot can just handle the coverage and tackle well enough, then you don't want your Adoree Jackson or Ja'Cory Bennett or Keely Ringo exposed to guys like Matthew Golden or Dubs or Jameson Williams or whoever it is that's going to be out there, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who kind of moves around. Then it might be more important to you to be stronger on the outside.
All right, Geoff Mosher, Football at 4 from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com.
Hey, by the way, real quick, that's a great point that you're making. This doesn't have to be a permanent for this year, even move for Cooper DeJean. It could be now you have enough corners so you can be matchup based. They might find that, we like Michael Carter in the slot against teams X, Y, and Z, but when we face some other teams, we're going to go back to putting Cooper DeJean in the slot and live with either Bennett or Jackson or whoever, Ringo or Michael Carter outside. I definitely think that's a possibility.
So, what question was I just about to ask you before you rudely interrupted me? No. What is your thoughts on how this Dean Campbell thing shakes out here? Do we just get to a point where, look, John Campbell just is not going to get the snaps that he was getting?
Well, I always say that the coaches give you the answers to the test. That's something me and Adam talk about a lot, and that actions speak louder than words. And it's very glaring that I think Campbell played he played the fewest snaps that he's played all year by a lot.
Mm-hmm. He played like 20 snaps.
Yeah, 20 snaps, which was like 40% of the defense or something. After playing no fewer than, I think, 90% of the snaps in every single game. So was that matchup based? Was it a chance to get Nakobe Dean more reps against a bad team that they knew they were going to beat after the second quarter? It's very interesting that they didn't the against the Vikings when they brought Nakobe in, they moved Jahad Campbell down in the 5-2 front, and then I think he played a few snaps at edge in nickel. But against the Giants, they didn't play him at edge in the nickel at all. And then you heard Vic say he kind of had a choppy week, which I don't think was smearing Jahad Campbell. I think it's very difficult in this defense when you haven't practiced it to play nickel end because it involves coverage. You saw Patrick Johnson had a struggle there with Cam Scadaboo, right? I mean, it's not just go get the quarterback, and all he has practiced since he got here is basically nickel off the ball linebacker and then sometimes base 5-2 defensive end to stop the run. So I can understand why Vic just didn't trust him as a natural 4-2 look, 4-2 nickel edge yet. But we'll see as that goes on. You'll have Brandon Graham coming back, Nolan Smith coming back. I can't imagine that Jahad's just going to suddenly just sit behind Nakobe Dean as well as he's played.
Dean played 63% of the snaps. By the way, Josh Uche played 60% of the snaps. So they obviously already value Uche as a pass rusher more than they do Campbell.
Yeah, Vic said it.
Yep, and then you've got Graham and Nolan Smith coming back. So both of those guys coming back, Uche playing 31 snaps, Dean getting 33. And I would only imagine Dean's not going to go down, right? He'd probably go up.
We'll see. I don't know that, Mike. I think that's where the danger is in assuming what they did 1 week in a game that they were winning pretty considerably after, by halftime, third quarter, is going to stick for the rest of the year. I don't think that there's a reason to just take Jahad Campbell off the field. I think Nakobe's looked pretty good, but it's not like Jahad Campbell has looked bad, missed assignments, done anything wrong either. I mean, he was playing 90% of the snaps each game up until this last game. If he were not playing well, certainly Vic could have played like dime. He could have used Trotter. I mean, he could have done something if he didn't think Jahad was playing well.
And it's not that Dean's not playing well either. It's like he's playing well. You're not like, what are you doing? This guy was playing well, and this guy's Dean's playing well. So it's just like, hey, you don't lose your job because of injury unless you stink.
Well, usually you don't lose your job when you're a first-round pick and you're playing well, and that's why.
But that's the surprising part about this whole thing.
Well, and that's why I'm not committed to the fact that he's lost his job yet. We'll have to see what happens coming out of Green Bay. Again, that was a Giants team that they were starting to build a pretty good lead on. They had control of that game from the beginning, so it could have been just a very good opportunity to get Nakobe Dean out there, continue to get him reps, get him back in shape. So I don't want to read too much into one game.
All right, well, football at 4, of course, a trade happens here. Michael Carter is here. John Mechie is not. Mechie, not really a factor. I would assume Carter becomes a factor. Eagles win the deal. That's what I got there.
All right, sounds good. I'll take your word for it.
Geoff Mosher, I'm sure the team over at InsideTheBirds.com and the Inside the Birds podcast will have more on the fit of Michael Carter in the Eagles defense. Hey, a trade during the bye week. It's a perfect bye week. The trade week, it fits right in there perfectly. The Eagles will be getting ready for the Packers. We'll talk more about that next week with Geoff Mosher here on Football at 4. Thanks, man.
You got it, Mike. Thanks.
All right, check out the Inside the Birds podcast on all podcasting platforms and every day right here on the Sports Bash Live. It is Football at 4, often imitated, never duplicated, right? You try. You can't beat us at Football at 4. We're the originators. Michael Carter is here. Mechie is out. And I think I joke a little bit, but I think the Eagles got a player that's going to help them out this year, whereas the player they gave away, John Mechie, was not helping out at all, and nor do I see him helping out moving forward here. All right, what do you guys think of the trade? There's Cole from LBI, Jet fan. Says Carter's definitely a nickel corner. He could play some safety too. He was solid against the run and solid as defense, got paid. And he's been banged up. Solid player, little undersized, but plays physical for his size. That's Cole and LBI is a Jet fan. Nice text there. Great listener of the show. Thank you, Cole. Yeah, I do. I watch, I'm not a red zone guy, so I watch a lot of games, and the Jets are on TV down here enough that I've seen Michael Carter in the slot, especially during those great defensive years with Saleh when their offense sucked. Actually, they weren't great. They were supposed to be great, and you're always scratching your head like, why is this team not better defensively, right? It's just unbelievable how bad that team is. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. We got 99 Bottles Sounder coming up in about 45 minutes from now. If you can stick around, that'd be great. Coming up on the other side, it's today's edition of the Nuggets. We had a Flyers win. I like the 6 o'clock staggered start for the Flyers-Sixers. 6 o'clock Flyers. Although I got to say, Josh, bad job by ESPN last night. The Flyers game is in a shootout, and they're going double box on the screen. I don't need to see Dallas and Washington. Thank you very much. Get them off my screen. I'm watching a shootout here. Can I please see the screen? If I want to go multi-view double box, I'll do it myself.
I was just going to say, isn't the whole point of having some of these, cable and streaming services you can double box yourself? Why do I need ESPN to do it for me?
Yeah, I was furious. I said, get this off my screen. I don't want the double box. I want to watch the shootout. The shootout is about seeing almost like
the full ice.
Yes, like seeing over the top, like what path the guy's taking. But I like the 6 o'clock staggered to the Sixer game. No Sixers or Flyers. Flyers till Thursday night. They play Nashville. And the Sixers aren't back till Friday. They play the Celtics again. All right, coming up, Nuggets here. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. All right, 4:30 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. I'm Mike Gill. What's up, everybody? Breaking news on the trade. Those of you looking at the ticker at the bottom of the screen. Flyers win last night. Sixers win last night. Both games go to overtime. Flyers in a shootout. Are you back in? Poll question is up right now at Mike Gill Show. You can vote and be a part of the show every day right here on the Sports Bash Live. It's time for the Nuggets. They're brought to you by the Hub, gear that works as hard as you do. Nick Earnshaw is host of Earnshaw Radio Monday nights on his social media platforms, the Shift Podcast, and he is the producer of the Locker Room Weekends on 97.3 ESPN. He has today's Knicks Nuggets brought to you by the Hub, gear that works as hard as you do. What do we got here today, Earnshaw?
Oh, what's going on, Mr. Mike Gill? Nice to talk to you on this gloomy, I guess, Wednesday afternoon. But last night was the opposite of gloomy, to say the least. The Philadelphia 76ers, 4-0. Who would have thought? Our buddy Paul Hudrick, he put out a stat. They didn't win 4 games last year until after Thanksgiving. After Thanksgiving, they didn't win 4 games last year. It is a totally different feel, a totally different season with this team. They were down 19 in the third quarter. You thought, no shot they're winning this game. It's the second game of a back-to-back, the whole 9. And they somehow found a way to get it to overtime. Tyrese Maxey, unbelievable again. Quentin Grimes hitting a big shot late in the game. Adem Bona, 5 blocks. He was ridiculous. There is a different feel for this team, no doubt about it, in this season. I am stunned. VJ Edgecombe is now also one of the betting favorites, I think, in most books. He's the betting favorite over Cooper Flagg at this point to win Rookie of the Year. That's how special he has been. And I want to talk about VJ for just a second and take a listen to what Tim Legler had to say about VJ Edgecombe.
He has the ability to go from a very relaxed state with the ball to buy you in an accelerated state at like a level, like I'm not comparing him to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but it's some of that where it's like all of a sudden he's relaxed, you're slightly relaxed defensively, and then when he decides to go, he goes. That first step in push and acceleration is by guys, or he's forcing you into such a like overreactionary retreat, he can stop and make an 18-foot jump shot. That is a special God-given innate athletic quality that's going to create separation for him all the time.
Unbelievable. So when you have Legler talking about it and comparing him to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he is so young, and the fact that he has been so good, he looks so confident out there, delusionally confident is the word and phrase we're going to use that Austin Rivers used on his podcast for VJ Edgecombe. Leg sees it. Like, the spacing has been much better in the NBA. Baylor is all clogged up. If you watch some of the film from VJ in college, the NBA spacing has helped him tremendously. And last night is just another example of there's a different feel to this team, Mike.
Well, yeah, there's a different feel because it's no longer the Embiid and then like all these veteran players it's almost like when they had Allen Iverson at the end of his career and they just kept trying to find, they had like, you might be a little too young for this, but like they had Iverson at the end of his career after they went to the finals. Then they went out and got like Chris Webber. Chris Webber was like at the end of the line. They got Glenn Big Dog Robinson. They got Keith Van Horn. They got Tim. They just kept trying to find someone that could play second fiddle to Iverson. But Iverson was such a unique talent for his undersized size, they could just never find the right guy. Now the opposite is true. Embiid is such a unique talent for his 7'2" size and skill set that finding the guy to play with him has been a challenge. So this time they have a group of guys who they're saying, let us play all these guys together and see if Embiid can fit with them. He had 25 points last night. That kind of gets lost in the sauce because everybody's looking at his minutes and that he's not moving the way that you want him to move. Look, listen, Joel is just kind of getting himself into shape. He's rounding into form. He's got this minute restriction. This is not the Joel Embiid that you hope to have by the time the playoffs get here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you got to remember the Joel Embiid calendar, right, throughout the season. This is the part of the calendar where he's getting himself ready, and he's still putting up pretty decent numbers, to say the least. And you want that guy as healthy as possible for the postseason. I don't care. Keep him on the minutes restriction, all of that. You want that guy in the postseason, especially when things tighten up in the half-court setting. I want Embiid on this team. For the ones that want to trade Embiid, you're nuts, you're crazy, and you're wrong. You need that guy on your roster in the postseason. I would want that guy if I could still have him on your roster in the playoffs. But yeah, this is the part of the season where he's still going to be getting back into shape. He always takes a little while to get going. We know this. And he's still dropping pretty decent numbers in, I would say, in 20 minutes around that mark where they're having him, on the minutes restriction. So the fact that they're taking the pressure off at Embiid and they still look good without him on the floor, that's something you haven't been able to say in a long time. And it's great. And you put out the poll question, are you in on the Sixers and the Flyers so far this season? 49% saying both, 32% saying Sixers, not too early, 13% and 6% just the Flyers. There's just something different about this team. They're playing with more energy. They're playing with more heart. You add VJ Edgecombe in there. You have a dynamic backcourt. You have a deep backcourt. This is a deeper roster than before, and it takes so much pressure. Instead of playing all the way through Embiid, you could play through your guards. And listen, they're not going to score 40 every night, but there's a possibility they could score 20, 30. Two of them could, right? And that could help you get a win. As long as Embiid's in there, he could drop a few for you. When Podcast P comes back, hopefully he can give you just something. And Jared McCain, forget about him. They have so much depth at the guard position. It's unfair for the rest of the NBA. They're in a very, very good spot, and it's all about the health at this point.
Well, this team has all been about health for about the last 13 years. Ever since Joel, Ben, their names were called, they just have not been healthy. And obviously right now, Joel is, who knows? We don't know where he is. He said it the other night, when's this minute restriction thing going to end? He said, I don't have the answer to that question. I'm just going to listen to what they tell me.
Yep.
So we'll see. I said, I'm not an instant results guy. I'm a big picture guy. And for me, everybody sees things differently. I'm encouraged by Embiid. Some people watch him and say, get him off the floor. I'm more encouraged that he's out there even playing. Nobody even thought he was going to play opening night. The fact that he's out there, contributing, to me, that's encouraging. So I look at the big picture and say, hey, look, the fact that Joel's here, as opposed to what you got from him last year, this is a win. Other people would say, get him off the floor. He's cooked. He's trash. He's awful. I don't look at it that way right now. I'm a big picture guy. I say, hey, let's look at what Joel looks like in March, down the stretch. Is he now dominating games again on both ends of the floor, or is he getting in the way? Because right now it seems like he's kind of finding his place. Is he getting in the way? Defensively, he's not helping them out. Like, I look at him defensively and say, I'm worried if that's the Joel Embiid defensively. But come March, he might be a different guy. Like, we always want instant results. Like, we're such a microwave society. Like, if he stinks in game 3, that means he stinks. It's absolute. He just stinks. There's no way he could be better in game 50 if he stinks in game 3. That's just the sports world that we live in.
Yeah, it's what have you done for me lately type of world, and that's just the one we live in. But I'm with you. Like, it's October. And listen, we're having fun right now. It's 4-0. You started off strong. The guards are playing really well. They're playing fast. They're playing with energy. It's a great start. It's a long way to go. A lot's going to change from now until December, January, February, March. Like, there's still a lot of basketball left to be played. It's not going to look the same. And, frankly, last year, I know they got off to the bad start, but in years past as well, like, they look totally different by the time they get to the postseason. And they're going to get guys back that they're going to have to mix in, right? Like, how are they all going to gel? I know Paul Hudrick yesterday, he said he's not too worried about it, and there's other people that aren't too worried about it. I'm a little concerned about the Sixers gelling and getting all these other guys back, and McCain and Barlow coming back, and Podcast P, and what are the rotations going to look like? How many 3-guard sets are you going to run? All of that, that is factor in, and they have to gel as well. It's going to take time. And let Embiid, he hasn't played in a long time, so let him get his feet under himself. He looks great in my estimation for 4 games into the season. It's not even Halloween, and they're 4-0.
Well, listen, I know Embiid is frustrating because he makes so much money. I think that's one of the things that also, if he didn't make the money that he makes, and obviously he does, you would look at this and say, all right, man, the guy has been constantly hurt. The Sixers are going at this a different way. Instead of just coming right back after not playing for 8 months and having some major knee problems, they're actually saying, look, let's ease him back into this. And right now, they're winning without him. So they don't have to force him back out there. So Embiid, by the way, seemingly is buying in. He's DX chopping. He's running all over the place. If anybody actually saw him jump last night, you could see that knee is just fine. He got way off the floor last night when he was jumping up and down when that team. So he's fine. They're just handling him with kind of kid gloves because they can. Right now they can. They're playing well enough without him. But if you're judging him based on what you're watching, then you want instant results. You want him to be Joel Embiid that you remember immediately. And the Sixers are saying, listen, guys, we don't need Joel to be Joel right now. Let it play out, and when we need him, we'll have a healthy version of him because we're not using him as much. They have used him for 35 minutes a night for every game that he's been out there, and that has not worked for him.
No.
So they're trying to go from a different perspective. But I get it. People they want him to be Joel Embiid. He's got to be out there. Otherwise, he's trash. He's garbage. He's terrible. Get him off the floor. Guys, have some context and some clue. If you're any much of a sports fan, you know that they're just kind of easing Joel back out there.
Yeah. It's the microwave society like you talked about. They see a clip. Oh, he's got to be garbage. They see one little clip of him making a mistake, and he's garbage at that point. Unfortunately, not everybody watches the full games anymore, but it is what it is. All right, moving along.
That's for sure.
Nugget number 2. I want to talk about this trade that just happened with the Eagles and the Jets a little bit. I know it's the breaking news. You see it at the bottom of the ticker. If you are watching on the X or YouTube platforms, the Eagles are trading for Michael Carter II Jr. He's a quarterback from the New York Jets. They are sending Mechie and a 2027 6th-rounder. Eagles are also getting back a 2027 7th-rounder. And Ian Rappaport put out this interesting little nugget just under an hour ago. This is fascinating. Quote, Ian Rappaport, this is his tweet. Here's how badly Michael Carter II wanted to join the Champs. Sources say he agreed to delete the $5 million guaranteed for injury in his 2026 contract year to complete the trade to the Philadelphia Eagles. Mike, I like this move. And Joe Douglas, former Jets GM, back with the Eagles, started with the Eagles, went to the Jets, now back with them. He probably has a little bit of intel on Carter here.
Yeah, he drafted Carter, and obviously Robert Saleh was the coach, and he was the coordinator as well, so he fit into that system. One of the problems with him is one of our Jet fan listeners, and if you watch the Jets, he's been hurt. He got banged up, so he has not fit into Aaron Glenn's defense. He has a concussion, but 5 seasons, he's only allowed 3 touchdowns in the 5 years. He's a good tackler. If you're looking at coverage stats for him, he's not going to be that guy. He's more of a corner that comes up in tackles. He's a physical guy. He's a slot corner. He's a nickel corner. So that would be the interesting part here. Is he going to play slot nickel, which you would imagine, and does that mean Cooper DeJean goes to the outside? So I think Joe Douglas knows the fit probably and says to Howie Roseman and to Vic Fangio, hey, I got a guy. I think we should get this guy. He's exactly what we kind of need. He's a guy. Because one of the things with Cooper, what they like about Cooper, is his ability in the slot to tackle in the run game. He helps in the run game. And a lot of people look at Michael Carter as kind of a guy who is better suited as a tackler. And, Cole from LBI, who's a Jet fan, texted in earlier and said he could possibly be a safety kind of guy. He's less of a cover slot. He's more of a physical guy.
Yeah, and it's interesting how Vic's going to play all these guys, right? How is Cooper DeJean going to just play more outside? Or are they going to mix it up with him still playing in the nickel and the slot to help out in the run game? Different packages. That's what you're going to look at with this trade and having Carter come into the mix. And that's why it's a big deal, I think, that, he agreed to delete the $5 million guaranteed for injury in 2026 next year to complete the trade, right? Because he's had injury issues throughout his career, especially this year too. So I think it's a fascinating move, and it just shows you that the Eagles are never done. There's always wheels turning in that front office with Howie Roseman. They go out, they knew they needed another corner. Boom. Michael Carter, he is on the Philadelphia Eagles now.
Yeah, listen, I don't sit here and think that Michael Carter is going to be a Pro Bowl player, but I definitely think he's an upgrade over every slot option you had. Slot option.
Yep.
Outside, I think there's the problem. You just didn't have a outside guy, so they're at the point now where they say, look, Cooper can cover, and he can tackle. Let's use his coverage skills, move him to the outside. Michael Carter, we like his physicality and his ability to tackle in the run game. We'll slide him because they didn't think that any of the other corners they had on the roster could, the slot corner's job a lot of times is to help out against the run, more so than it is to cover in the pass. They cover out in the flats, running backs, tight ends. Sometimes they get locked up with the receivers, but Cooper DeJean can now go to the outside. Now, we don't know that they're going to do this. We're just assuming because Carter has generally only played the slot.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how they get all these guys in the mix. They make an upgrade. Howie always making a move, to say the least. All right, let's move along. Final nugget, Michael Jordan, his second stint on NBC once again. They discussed load management, and I want to discuss some of the things that he brought up. Take a listen to this first part of MJ and him not understanding load management because you play for the fans. Take a listen.
It shouldn't be needed, first and foremost. I never wanted to miss a game because it was an opportunity to prove. It was something that I felt like, the fans are there to watch me play. I want to impress that guy way up on top who probably worked his ass off to get a ticket or to get money to buy the ticket.
You really cared about the guy who sat in the top deck at the Palace in Auburn Hills to watch you when you came to Detroit?
Yeah, because I know he's probably yelling at me, and I want to shut him up. He's calling me all kinds of names. I definitely want to shut him up.
And I want to play the second part of it. MJ talking about players have a duty to perform because they're entertainers, and basketball is entertainment. Take a listen to that part of this conversation.
You have a duty that if they're wanting to see you, and as an entertainer, I want to show, right? So if the guys are coming to watch me play, I don't want to miss that opportunity. Now, physically, if I can't do it, then I can't do it. But physically, if I can do it, and I just don't feel like doing it, that's a whole different lens.
Mike, is this MJ, old man yelling at cloud, or does he have a legitimate case here with load management?
All right, here's my problem with what Jordan says. And I don't have any problem with him saying this, but here's the problem that with what he says is, how much of this is the player saying, I don't want to play, I want to be load managed? How much is the doctors, the analytics department saying, you're not playing tonight whether you want to or not? Michael is in an era where that didn't happen. The doctors weren't saying, hey, Michael, you should probably not play tonight because we've played 3 games in 6 nights or, we've traveled. So he could say that, but who's to say that some guy is saying, well, I don't want to load manage tonight, and the doctors are saying, well, you're not playing tonight. And that's what it is. So I understand what he's saying. His point of view is accurate. As an entertainer, as a player, as someone who's paying, those guys should want to play all 82 games when they're able to go. But I don't know that that's the reality of sports that sadly we live in.
Yeah, it's just evolved so much over the years since he played. But I do agree with the sentiment there. Like, you should want to be out there every single night. If you physically can't go, if you're just like, I don't feel great, then I'm not going to play. I'll just load manage. I'll take the night off. He's saying you play through that. And they brought up the flu game, and that is an example, too.
I am anti-load managing. Like, I think it's ridiculous. So I do understand where he's coming from, but I don't think it's all the time the player's fault. I think the players, the organization is saying, you're not playing tonight. We have a plan for you. Like Joel Embiid has basically said, I don't want to be on a minute restriction. They're making me be on a minute restriction. He's like, I can play more minutes. I don't need to be on a minute restriction, but they're putting me on a minute restriction. So these players today don't have the same, ability that era did.
Yeah, and it's very circumstantial, too. You bring up the Joel Embiid example. Like, he wants to be out there, and we know about that from the ESPN article, right? He played through the knee injury, meniscus twice in the playoffs. He played through Bell's palsy. Like, we've seen him play through stuff. Like, that guy has done it. And now the Sixers are just going to be extra cautious, right? Like they're going to be extra cautious because they want to get him in the postseason because he's hurt all the time. So that's I think it's dependent on the situation as well. But you have had guys like Popovich. The Spurs are very well known for this, right? Load managing guys, etc.
They kind of started it all.
Yeah. So I mean, like they just giving guys rest to get them in the postseason, which in theory great. But if as an entertainer, I see where he's coming from. As a competitor, you should want to be out there every single minute of every single night. And it's just changed so much throughout the years.
It really has, and I would love for Michael Jordan to be able to go say to every team's front office, hey, stop sitting these guys. They're entertainers. People are paying their money. They want to see these guys. So stop it. Stop doing it. But the toothpaste. Although I will say, the load management doesn't seem to be as much of a big problem as it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah. It's definitely tapered off a little bit, especially with, guys getting older through that era. It's kind of a newer era right now. So definitely fascinating to say the least. But hey, the GOAT's back, and you'll get, I think it's this one long interview. You're going to play clips of it every week. So there you go. Final nugget, 3-pack for you today.
Yep. All right. There you go. It's the Nuggets today. They're brought to you by The Hub, gear that works as hard as you do. We'll do it again tomorrow. And don't forget to check out Nernshaw Radio Monday nights on all his social media platforms. The Shift, and he'll be in on the weekend with The Locker Room right here on 97.3 ESPN. Thanks, Nick.
Peace.
There's the Nuggets today on the Sports Bass live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and live video streaming on the X platform and on YouTube at Mike Gill Show. Coming up next hour, Keith Pompey from the Philadelphia Inquirer talks about the Sixer 4-0 start. He's been at every single game and seen them up close. What stands out to him? Find out. Coming up next. Right now, there's our contest sounder. Caller 7-609 573-3776. Caller 7 right now. You are in this year's 99 Bottles party at Maynard's in Margate. You must be present to win. 99 tickets, 99 winners. That's the way we do it. Every single qualifier wins a pair of tickets. What pair of tickets? Well, you got to be present to win to pick up your tickets. It could be Sixers tickets. It could be Flyers tickets. It could be concert tickets. It could be Eagles tickets to see the Eagles-Bears game at Lincoln Financial Field on Black Friday. Caller 7 right now, 609-573-3776. Good luck. Don't forget, you must be present to win at Maynard's in Margate, 9306 Amherst Avenue in Margate. Just after 5, Sports Bass Live, 97.3 ESPN. Sixers, a overtime winner last night. They're 4-0. We'll dive into some Sixers stuff now. Keith Pompey from the Philadelphia Inquirer is back on the show as a new Sixers season is here. But early on, the returns have actually been pretty good. How surprised is Keith? He was at training camp, saw this team from the start. We'll get his opinions on where this team sits and what's the big picture. Keith Pompey from the Inquirer joins me now on the Sports Bass Live on 97.3 ESPN. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, man. Mr. Wanted to be a Pitt Panther. How you doing?
Hey, listen, I know you're having a good season, but the only win we did have happened to be against Pitt. So how about that? Your season would have been even better had you not stumbled in that one. But one team not stumbling out of the gates. You were there last night, down 19, and then here they come rumbling back. And they're doing it with a different type of team that we're used to talking about, me and you. We're always talking about Joel and the guys around him. And right now it's the guys around him that seemingly everyone's excited about.
Yeah, definitely. And they're around him, and they're led by Tyrese Maxey and, VJ Edgecombe as Robin to Maxey's Batman. And then you have Alfred and Quentin Grimes, right? So, I think is a fun brand of basketball. I mean, they get out and go. They do a lot of things. And, I dubbed them kind of like Tyrese Maxey and the comeback kids. I mean, they're doing whatever they can. And they're always down double digits in the fourth, and they always find a way to come back and win these games.
So, obviously that's not sustainable. You can't be down 19, and then, they can't be down against, the Celtics. Obviously not the same Celtics. Charlotte's probably, if a low-level playoff team. Washington's obviously struggle. So these are teams that probably aren't playoff teams that you're down, but you're finding ways to come back in, because these are games they would have lost certainly last year.
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. I mean, but the thing about it is, you're right. You don't want to continue to do this, but each time they do it, you learn something about a different player. I mean, think about it. Adem Bono, when they went on that run to come back in the fourth quarter, he had 4 blocks in the fourth. He had another one in the overtime period that was huge, and his only basket of the game came on a putback of Tyrese Maxey missing a floater that put the Sixers up for good. So each game, guys are coming out and they're showing us things that they can do. And these are all things that, it could help them moving forward. That once they get their full squad back, for guys to etch out a role on this team. But yeah, you can't sustain it. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you look at it and you say, wow, I didn't know this guy had this in his bag.
There's so much we can peel the onion here with Keith Pompey, covers the Sixers, of course, for the Inquirer. You just talk about all these guys you're learning something about. But one of the things that we're trying to figure out is it legitimate in your mind that they play better without Joel? Is he kind of the square peg in the round hole? Or ultimately, is Joel working his way back and that he will eventually slide right back into his normal role?
That's a great question. I mean, it's $1 million question, right? I think, right now it's still too soon to find out, right? I mean, to get the answer to that. I mean, we have to let it play out a little bit more. But, it is kind of like in front of us right now. We look at it, and every time they go on these runs that we're talking about, Joel's minutes restrictions have run out, and the team has been playing better without him. Yesterday I was looking at it, and it was, you kind of feel bad for him because offensively I felt like he had his best offensive performance, right? I mean, he had 25 points in 23 minutes. He showed some explosion, trying to get to the rim, blew by guys. But on the defensive end, it was like, guys were blowing by him, and he wasn't jumping, and it was like either he doesn't want to jump or he can't jump. And, there were guys he used to dominate, like Alex Sarr and Marvin Bagley III. They were posterizing them at certain times. So, it's one of those things where you look at it. If it stays the same, then, yes, on the defensive end and whatever, the Sixers are going to be better without him. But if it doesn't stay the same, then you look at the element that he can bring to the 76ers moving forward.
That's the thing. So far, Keith, it's been on the defensive end where you're like, Bona's out there blocking shots. You got Drummond grabbing rebounds. Those two guys are doing the dirty work, and Joel looks like a fish out of water on the defense. It's like, can they knit together all three of them? Because the three of them last night combined for 33 points, 20 rebounds, and like 8 blocked shots from the center position.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's why these other two guys are so important. It's also why now we realize it, where we looked at it and they said, okay, we may consider the Twin Towers. And like, okay, and yeah, Joel's going to be the power forward, right? And now you understand why, because it's kind of like you're going to need bonus shot blocking ability on the back end. You're going to need him, being able to challenge people, being able to be in the right position, do a lot of different things. But the only problem with that is when you do that, because you're talking about you want to bring all three of these guys and basically play them. Well, the problem is Bona typically picks up 2 quick fouls. And if you're playing him alongside Embiid, then what happens? Then you have to change your rotation if he gets these 2 fouls early. It's just a lot of stuff going on. But, yeah, right now I do think that because of the state Embiid is in, you're going to have to play all three of them.
So I know you saw him in training camp. I guess he played in that preseason game. Where do you think ultimately he's going to be? Is this who he is? Or do you think, hey, listen, sometime after the All-Star break, you'll see a different version? Or is this the version of Joel Embiid?
That's another great question. I think it's hard to find out right now. From the eye test, if you look at it, you're like, ooh, well, this is who he is. But you remember something about Joel. There's been times in the past when we looked at him and it's like, he's out of shape. He's doing this. He looks really bad. And then 2 games later, he snaps out of it, right? The problem was the difference is he was always a great defensive presence. He just always was altering shots. He didn't block a lot, but he was altering it, right? He made stuff unbearable for teams. They just didn't drive the lane against him. Right now what we're seeing is, poor lateral movement. We're seeing a guy who's not jumping for the ball. And, sometimes you may think, and you could say it could be 2 things. Maybe this is who he is, or you can look at it and say, this guy is a guy who's not really comfortable with his knee 100% yet. He's not comfortable with maybe people colliding in his leg, and doing other things or tripping into him. So I think then for us to get the full answer, we're going to have to wait a couple weeks, right, to see what it's like, because it does look bad. I mean, Mike, it does look bad. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you got to let them play out there to improve. So what we think is oh, well, that's just Joel getting ready for the season. He'll eventually get back.
Yeah.
But it does look bad. It really does.
Yeah, I agree. Defensively, he just looks like he doesn't want to jump or he can't move laterally. He can't keep up with guys. On the offensive side, I'm intrigued to see your thoughts on how he's fitting into this offense. The first night, obviously, he just didn't have any rhythm, but you scored 25 points, and it feels like, well, he's dribble handoff at the top, setting screens. They're following Maxey. The ball's coming back to him. He's stepping into a wide-open look for him. So this new kind of feel for offense, it feels like if he's going to hit that shot, this could be a good fit for him.
It could be. The only thing that I didn't like about yesterday's game was it was, to me, in that first quarter, it reminded me of last year when he was healthy, and it reminded me of the year before that, when it turned into the Embiid Maxey 2-man game. And Kelly Oubre has mastered how to play off of that, so he was able to get shots, right? And I just did not like watching VJ Edgecombe stand in the corner, and it was reminiscent of Tobias Harris. When everybody would rip on Tobias, and then he's like, hey, but I wasn't getting the ball. You're like, well, you're not being aggressive. It's just, to me, when you have a guy like that, I think it's up to Embiid and it's up to Maxey, more so Embiid, to make sure that this guy also gets involved. And, the Sixers said a lot of things yesterday about it possibly could have been, he wasn't aggressive because of, playing in his first back-to-back. He's tired. The guy's 20 years old, man. These dudes, like, they play they can play 3 games a day if they want to, right? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So to me, the offense looked good, but I think that what Embiid and everybody has to be careful of is, like, now there are going to be some people that criticize Embiid because he's not scoring a lot of points. And he's going to want to go out there and prove that he can be the most dominant offensive player. But to me, the thing that makes them tick is getting VJ Edgecombe also involved. Because, you know, you guys were scoring a bunch of points, but you were losing to the Washington Wizards.
Yep.
You know, so my thing is they just have to, yes, he looked good, but you gotta move the ball. You can't turn it into a 2-man game. You have to get everyone else involved.
All right, Keith Pompey's with us. There's a lot of stuff here. Obviously, Maxey and Edgecombe have kind of been the big stories, and then Embiid with that whole situation. Jared McCain, how does he fit into Grimes, Maxey, Edgecombe?
You know, I think he fits. It's weird because, yeah, he fits in well, I think. I think what he'll do is I don't see him as a starter at all. But I see when they come off the bench, I see, like, you see how Grimes is. He'll handle the ball a little bit. But a lot of times when they get out and go, like, he's streaking down the court. I think the guy who's going to get the ball and bring the ball up is going to be McCain. You know, I think that you're going to grab a rebound. You're going to look to see where Jared is, outlet the ball to him, and let him operate a little bit, right? So I think that's going to be a good fit. And the thing is, when you look at it, let's face it, we looked at last year the Indiana Pacers. We looked at the Oklahoma City Thunder. What did they all have? I mean, they had dominant guards,
yeah.
You know, in SGA, and they also had Tyrese Halliburton. But they had 3 other guards who were extremely interchangeable and played well. And this is how the league is going. So when you look at it, you know, there's going to be times where we're going to see 3-guard lineup. There may even be a time that they go super small ball and put all these guys on the floor. But I like it because it adds depth and it brings a lot of stuff to people. And the one thing we found out about Jared McCain last year is that he plays extremely well when he plays with Paul George, Maxey, and Embiid, right? He takes advantage of the mismatches. And that's what I feel like his role is going to be when he comes back. Take advantage of mismatches. And do everything you can.
I can't. He was a joy to watch last year. I can't wait to see how he fits in because you can't keep playing Maxey 40-plus minutes a night, I would imagine. They want to cut those minutes back here. When do you foresee McCain being able to play?
You know, I don't know. I know what Nick Nurse said yesterday. He was like, yeah, we can have some people come back in a couple of weeks. So I'm thinking we'll see him in a couple of weeks, right? Because, you know, right now, I'm going to tell you this, though. It was before Monday night's game, well, Monday's shoot-around. They had a shoot-around, and he was out there.
Yeah.
And I get it. It was a shoot-around, just shooting drills. He looked good. I mean, he looked really good, like to a point where you're saying to yourself, dang, man, this guy's been working out this off season. He didn't lose anything after hurting his thumb. But he was just, the ball was just, everything was, it was like swish, 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 swish. Like, so I'm really looking forward to seeing him. But I think, you know, you got to get your conditioning back up. You got to do a lot of other things. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was in a couple weeks.
All right, now the Paul George question for Keith Pompey from the Inquirer. Where is he and how does he fit in? Is this a good fit or is this a worrisome fit when he returns?
You know what? I'm not concerned with Paul returning. And here's the reason why. Like, if I'm Paul George, I'm looking at this like, hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Allah. Whatever denomination or whatever religion you are, you got a different prayer. Because here's the thing. Right now, there's so much pressure taken off of Paul George, right? People want to see VJ Edgecombe. They want to see Quentin Grimes. They want to see Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain do their thing. Paul George has been a guy who's always, for the most part, played off of elite players. He was kind of like the Batman. Now, when he was in Indiana, he was Batman, right? But everywhere else he went to, he was kind of like the Robin to the Batman. Like, in Oklahoma City, there was Russell Westbrook. And with the Clippers, there was Kawhi Leonard. And now I feel like the pressure is off of him to just go in there and blend. Like when we know about him, what do we know of him beforehand? He can knock down a couple shots if you need him to. He can get to the rim if you need him to. But for the most part, he's going to be an elite defender. He's going to help out with some ball handling. He's going to do a lot of different things. And while if he does that and those other guys thrive, then all of a sudden fans are going to, they may or they may not, forget about what the heck he's getting all this money. It's because he's just blending. And I feel like there's going to be less pressure on him than more so with a Joel Embiid, because this is how he plays. He likes playing off of elite players, whereas, Joel, he we're asking him to be a role player when he's used to being numero uno.
Yeah.
So I think that he'll have a tougher time adapting than Paul George.
How about the role players? When they signed Watford, I was a big fan of that. I think he's he's a good facilitator, good passer. He's long. He's kind of a guy that this team has lacked over the years. Someone who knows he's not a 15-point-a-game scorer, and he's the hockey assist guy. He makes the second pass, the extra pass. That guy, Jabari Walker last night, Bona, you talked about the block. It seems like they found some scrappy role players who know their role players.
Yeah, and all of them were pretty good signings when you look at it for what they got for him. I mean, think about it. You got Jabari Walker and Don Barlow, two NBA veterans on two-way deals. That's crazy. You know what I mean? That you were able to get them that way. And then you got, you got Wofford for a little bit more than the minimum. Here's the thing that really stood out to me about Wofford yesterday. Is now I know that he's a guy who everybody talks about. He's this point forward. He does that. You also talked about the hockey assist, the whole nine. But he gets into the game, and a couple minutes into his stint, he's over there telling teammates what to do, where to be at on the floor. You know what I mean? He's like, okay, next time come over here and I'll get you. And I'm saying to myself, dude, you're 2 minutes into your first stint.
Yeah.
You did not complete in the preseason, and you missed the first 3 games. But it was that kind of that vocal leadership that I saw and heard, and it's kind of yo, I really like that. I like that leadership quality. Now, one guy that you didn't ask me about, but I'm a huge fan of, is Dom Barlow. Dominic Barlow is a guy I feel like, you can still consider him when everybody comes back, consider keeping him in the starting lineup because of, he can have that Mark Ivoroni factor for you where, he's going to grab rebounds. He's going to be, a junkyard dog, so to speak, messing stuff up while all the other stars get to shine. I really like that addition. I felt like, of all the 9 superstars, he's been the most consistent player on the team.
All right. I like that little Ivoroni reference in there from Keith Pompey. Lastly, you have seen Michael Carter-Williams, Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz, Jahlil Okafor, Nerlens Noel, Joel Embiid, Dario Saric, Jared McCain. These guys are all first-round picks who had some microcosm of success, although Fultz, I guess, would be lowest on that list. Michael Carter-Williams won Rookie of the Year. He actually had a triple-double. I was at that game that night, and then he faded off. What is different about VJ Edgecombe from all these other rookies that you covered?
I mean, to be honest with you, I have to say first of all, he's the most athletic. And I know that Ben Simmons was extremely athletic, right? But we're talking about 6'10 and 6'4. And the 6'4 guy can get up higher than the dude who was 6'10, right? You know what? But the best way to describe him, and it might sound like a cliche and corny cliche, but there's a confidence but not an arrogance, right? He's confident, but he's not cocky. Before the first game, I asked him, hey, man, you butterflies? You up all night? He said, nah, I slept more than 8 hours. I feel good. And then he goes out there and he drops what? He drops, 34 points, right? You know, so you're like, yo. And then you see him and he's just like dunking on people. Like, you know, he's going after all-star type caliber players. And, you know, I like that about him. He has that dog, but he doesn't, like, talk a lot of smack. Like, well, he does talk on the court. But what I'm saying is there's no arrogance to him. You know, like, so that's the one thing I like. I think he's the real deal. But the crazy part about it is, if we're going to be honest, he probably had less hype than all of these guys that we're talking about. Like,
yes.
He was the guy that couldn't dribble and couldn't shoot, that we felt like. And through 4 games, he's way better than all of them. He has a better start than all of them.
That's a good point. Is, you know, you had and, you know, quite frankly, you got to give them a little bit of credit because there was a lot of people who thought Ace Bailey was the pick, and they made kind of the outside-the-box, non-conventional pick that night when everybody's saying Bailey, 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 and they took this guy, and so far it has worked out for him, and you think that this guy has it, the real deal with in terms – and, you know, it's funny, a buddy of mine works down in Baylor and covers the team down there. And he said, dude, you are going to love this guy. Did you hear Austin Rivers said he's delusionally confident? He said on a podcast the other day, you know, he just believes he belongs. Like, he just believes he's belonged. And he believed that when he was like 15 years old, playing against kids when they were like 20.
Exactly. But you know what? And here's the thing. Like, when we talk about him, like, remember when he was crying because his mom didn't have, like, they finally, like, no, like, we didn't have electricity. We made it. We did all this and stuff like that. It kind of makes you put things in perspective, right? So here's a guy who comes to America because he wants to play ball, but his focus is to, you know, make a better living for his mom and his family. So next thing you know, okay, man, you're going to be on the floor with a 5 or 6 time All-Star, maybe a future Hall of Famer. This dude is worrying about electricity. He could care less about this other dude.
Right.
He's going to go at him. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's like, huh?
You see it when he gets a ball in the break and it's him on 2, and he says, I'm taking both of you, and I'm just going to dunk right over. Now, he might not be successful, but he's going up trying.
He's doing it. Yeah, he's doing it. You got to like him. You know, he's like that little kid, you know, when you're growing up and this little kid is like, man, he's getting on my nerves, man. All he keeps doing is hitting me. He keeps hitting me. He keeps hitting me. And then he keeps hitting me. He's like, yo, man, just do something with this kid. Just do something with him. It's him. He keeps coming at you. And I really like him. And that's why I'm saying to myself, I'm saying that the 76ers have to realize if they want to be successful, you can't let this guy not get a shot attempt until 4 minutes left in the half.
Yeah.
It can happen.
By the way, we had this conversation. We haven't even mentioned Quentin Grimes really and what he has brought and what, 29 minutes a game. He's averaging 16, and I would imagine he's, when McCain comes back, do those two guys play together? How that all kind of works out? It's going to be interesting to see who Nick ends up starting when everybody's ready to play here and how he diversifies these minutes. But Grimes is another one coming in as this 6th man, fit in that role pretty nicely.
Oh, no doubt. And it's funny because, when you talk about from a money standpoint, you think that, okay, for me to get paid, I got to be a starter, right? And then I was talking to him Monday night, and he was like, but Keith, I'm getting starter minutes, and there's no pressure, and I come in here, they allow me to do, in that second unit, I'm allowed to do what I can do, play my game. He knows if he was in that starting lineup, his role would be stand in the corner, catch and shoot. That's it. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't be asked to create, do anything. But when he comes in the game, it's kind of like it's freedom for him to go out there and just be himself. He also knows that he's going to close out the games. He knows that when it's key moments, he's going to be inserted into the game. So I feel like this is a great role for him. Initially, I was like, you can't start VJ Edgecombe because at that point I didn't know what VJ Edgecombe could do totally, sure. Right? But I think for Quentin Grimes right now, this is a great role. And you see all the games. We talk about, the game against Charlotte, he had a big 3, right? we talk about Orlando. He made a big shot against Orlando. In the fourth quarter, him and Tyrese Maxey last night combined for 26 points. And then, he was clutch from the foul line in overtime. So, everything is working out for him. And he could, I know it's still early, but if he could keep this up, he is going to be a candidate for Sixth Man of the Year.
Celtics on Friday night. You can listen to that game right here on 97.3 ESPN. They're back against the Nets on Sunday. They got the Bulls, who are playing really well, and then the Cavs on Wednesday. So some good games next week. Listen to them all right here on 97.3 ESPN. Pompey on Sixers is where you can find him on social media on the X platform, and he was kind enough to talk to us right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Good conversation, man. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, hell to Pitt too, bro. Hell to Pitt.
Yeah, you got us this year. You deserve that. Take care, man.
All right, bye-bye.
Pitt 6-2, I think. West Virginia not having a very good year this year. Although we did beat Pitt. That was the one win we did pick up on the season. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Thanks to Keith Pompey from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Longtime Sixer beat writer, does a great job covering the Sixers. And we all got those same questions. Look, I think we're all watching Joel and thinking, okay, it looks like he's still Joel on the offensive end in a lot of the capacities. Like, hey, there's the guy. We see him. He's hitting threes. He's hitting jumpers. He's a handful. But on the defensive end, it's just not there right now. And don't know. Doesn't look good. Defensively, doesn't look where it needs to be. Then you see Joel running around last night like a kid in a candy store, and you're like, oh, maybe his knee's okay. Maybe he just doesn't trust it on the floor yet. Who knows? That's why I said, let's see where this is February, March, April. Like, if he still looks like this guy, then I don't know how you assess him in terms of you can't play him 35 minutes like that defensively. Just can't do it. But what he brings offensively is big time. 528 Sports Bash Live. Got another chance for you to qualify for 99 bottles still to come. Listen for that contest sounder to go off. When you hear it, be the seventh caller. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. All right, 5:36. We'll get into the Fine Five, Ugly Five here on the Sports Bash Live today. The five worst teams in the NFL after 8 weeks of play. The 5 worst teams are pretty bad this season. Starting with number 5, 5th worst team in the league currently as we sit here on this Wednesday of the final day before the 9th week gets underway. I'm going number 5. It's got to be, well, I would say it's got to be, but how about the Cleveland Browns?
They're not on my list.
Wow.
I got another team. I got 5 other teams I think are worse than them.
I got Cleveland Browns right now. They got situation with Garrett. Their quarterback situation's a disaster. At this point, it's become a joke. Just give the Sanders kid a shot. Like, what's the holdup there? You really think Dylan Gabriel is your quarterback? Like, maybe you don't think Sanders can do it, but let him go out there and fall on his face then. Let him go out there and embarrass himself. You can't be any worse than what you got going on right now with Dylan Gabriel, who stinks.
It's a very bizarre situation in Cleveland. It's almost like they're trying to punish Sanders. It's like, dude, you can't tell me that there's that many quarterbacks better than Shedeur Sanders. Like, I've been watching football long enough. I know the Cleveland Browns have had more bad quarterbacks than good quarterbacks. There's no harm in just saying, Shedeur, it's your ball for the rest of the year. Good luck. If you stink, we'll move on next year.
Yeah, I mean, just let him go out there and stink. He probably will. You probably let him go out there and stink, and he probably will.
I mean, he can't be any worse than Dylan Gabriel.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we've already seen that Gabriel can't play. There's nothing to show us that says, oh, man, I really like what he's doing here. So I got Cleveland number 5. If you don't have them in there, I'm interested to see who else is in there. I got Dolphins number 4.
Dolphins are my number 4 as well. We got that one in common.
Yeah, they won last week, so for them to be in the ugly 5 is still an accomplishment.
It's an accomplishment, but it's also a reflection of the fact that one of those 2 wins this year were against the Jets.
Jets are number 3 on my list for 1 week only. They did win, so I'll give them a handshake and move them out of the top spot.
I do have the Jets at 3 as well. I have to give them credit for being feisty, for finding a way to win.
Could have easily folded to 10
Yep.
in this situation. Tennessee, Tennessee's number 1. The Saints are number 2.
I have the Saints number 2. I was considering them number 1 because they're benching Spencer Rattler for Tyler Shuck. Good luck with that.
26-year-old rookie, Tyler Shuck, second-round pick. Yeah, I got the Titans number 1, though, because they have a first-round number 1 overall pick, and their offense has mustered up 110 points this year in 8 games. 110 points in 8 games this year with
usually,
the quarterback that you drafted number 1. Put it this way, you have Cam Ward. They had Spencer Rattler and scored more than you did.
Also, you fired the head coach, who was supposed to be an offensive-minded coach, and the offense hasn't gotten any better. You could argue it's gotten worse. So it's like the Titans are just like they're stranded in the middle of the ocean saying help, and no one's there to hear them.
Well, last year they did have a lot of veteran players, and that was like why they were kind of like, they went out and got Calvin Ridley, and they have DeAndre Hopkins and Tony Pollard. It was like, hey, we'll get all these veteran players and have a lousy quarterback and hope that the players can help the quarterback. Now they got rid of all the players and went and got a quarterback, and now he has no one to throw the ball to.
Yeah, it sounds like they don't know what they're doing down there in Tennessee.
So who was your 5th team that was not included?
The Raiders.
Oh, the Raiders. Raiders actually have only scored 103 points. Their offense is probably the most inept.
Geno Smith is playing like one of the worst quarterbacks in football. It's like they found, 2014 Geno, and brought him back. They got rid of Seattle Seahawks.
Ultimately, though, I think Geno Smith is better than Dylan Gabriel, and there you go. There's your difference.
True.
Yeah.
But still, the Raiders are a bad football team.
They certainly are. All right, they are the ugly 5. Who are this week's fine 5? Who you got?
My number 5 team are the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sticking by this team. I think of what they have done the last several weeks. I know they started the year rough, but they have really bounced back ever since they've gotten healthier.
I've got Denver number 5.
Oh, interesting. Now, what is it about Denver that, because you and I keep bringing up the fact each week on who's in, who's out, we take Denver over Kansas City for the division. What is it about Denver that has been the biggest point for you?
Defense, they play really good defense, and they're starting to run the ball now. Now they're adding some wrinkles to the run game. You see Harvey getting involved there. I know Nix isn't my favorite quarterback, but they do have some decent weapons at the wide receiver position. I do like Franklin. Mims, I think, is banged up a little bit. Cortland Sutton's a guy, I think if he was in a bigger market, probably would be more well-known. So they do have weapons, but I liked what they've added in the run game, but their defense is really good.
Yep.
All right, number 4.
I got the Lions. I think the Lions deserve credit. I have been down them at points this year, but what they have done, aside from their 2 losses, is they haven't just won games, Mike. They have controlled games, and I think it's a huge credit and testament to Dan Campbell. This man lost both of his coordinators to head coaching jobs, and he has found a way to keep that team not just above water, but thriving.
I like the Lions, but I like them better than you do.
I know you do.
Yep. Coming in at number 4 for me, this is a tough one because you got all these teams kind of like in the mix. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 teams at 6-2. You got one team 5-1-1, and of course you got a team at 7-1. But for me right now, the 4th team is the Colts, 7-1. Great running game, very good defense. Still got questions if in a game like last year with Minnesota, if you need Sam Darnold to help you in the playoff game, is Daniel Jones going to be there for you? So they've got the makings. I'm just not sold that the quarterback is better than, some of these guys in front of them.
Well, you like the Lions better than me, and I like the Colts better than you. Colts are higher on my list.
All right, number 3.
EAGLES. Come on, you got to put the Eagles somewhere on this top 5 list. I mean, they lost 2 games, but they bounced back in a big way the last 2 weeks.
I got the Eagles on my list, but next I got the Bills. Bills came back, scored 40, but their defense is still a problem, but I still think big picture they'll figure things out and are probably one of the best 5 teams. I got them coming in right now at number 3.
I don't have the Bills on my list.
Okay.
Number 2, I have the Green Bay Packers. I know. I like the Packers more than you do, Mike, but I am still buying into that Packers team.
If Micah Parsons wasn't on that team, what would we think?
They're not a top 5 team.
Okay, that's what I think. I think the fact that they have Parsons elevates them to a level that they're really not.
Well, I don't know if it's that they're not, but I think that we have to give credit to the fact that he is arguably one of the best closers in all of football. He shows up in the 4th quarter in big moments.
I agree. No, he's there, so you have to take that under consideration. I just don't think their offense can hold up the end of the bargain for them. Like when push comes to shove, I think where their limited is on the offense. Like which receiver do they have? Scares you?
Well, that's part of the problem. We thought it was going to be a guy like Matthew Golden, but they've barely used him.
Yeah.
Romeo Doubs has been injured off and on. They're at the point where Tucker Kraft is their biggest weapon.
Exactly. So in the end, like last year, they just had no weapon that now Watson's back, but he's constantly hurt. He really hasn't done anything. They just don't have a passing. And Love, to me, is below all these guys. I just don't think Love is an elevator.
No, but the coach is.
Okay.
And so you got to give the coach credit.
I got Philadelphia, number 2 on my list. Lions, number 1.
I was going to say the Lions are your number 1.
Lions are the most complete team. Again, the injuries last year crippled them. Now they're getting healthy again. I think that they are on a mission of, look, they could have easily folded the tent. They lost their 2 coordinators. They lost opening night. And no, they just keep coming at you here. So I'm going to put them in the top spot because I'm pretty impressed at the way they persevered with all the stuff. They could have just said, hey, we lost our 2 coordinators. We lost our center. But in the end, I think they have the best complement of receivers, running backs, offensive line. Jared Goff's very good. Their defense, if healthy, is very solid. I got the Lions right now. And that means I don't have the Packers. I don't have the Patriots. I don't have the Buccaneers. I don't have the Seahawks. I don't have the Rams. I don't have the Chiefs. I think everybody's like going crazy about the Chiefs right now. I'm not saying they stink. I just don't think that they're like, wow, the Chiefs are back. They beat a Washington team that stinks. They beat a Vegas team that stinks. The impressive win was the Detroit win. They barely beat actually, they lost to Jacksonville. What was I going to say?
They lost to Jacksonville.
They beat a Baltimore team that stinks. They beat a Giants team that is okay.
The Baltimore team had Lamar Jackson in that game at least, though.
They lost to Philly and they lost to the Chargers. So the only 2 decent teams they played, they lost, except for Detroit. They did beat Detroit. That's the one game that I think people But beating Vegas 31-0 and Washington 28-10. They play Buffalo this week. They play Denver next week. They play the Colts the following week. After these 3 games, let me reevaluate.
By the way, the Colts are my number 1 team.
Interesting.
They are far and away the highest scoring offense. They got 270 points this year. And I understand your point about Daniel Jones, but Daniel Jones has something that a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL don't. You know what that is, Mike Gill?
Great running game.
A playoff win.
All right.
He hasn't won a playoff game. There's a lot of quarterbacks who haven't. And you know what? They're not asking him to win games. They're asking him to just...
In the playoffs, teams might make him win games.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
All right, there you go. It is the Fine 5, Ugly 5 here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, the best 5, the worst 5, Fine 5, Ugly 5 here on the Sports Bash. I'm Mike Gill. Coming up, we got so much more to go, including our final thoughts and one more chance for you to qualify for this year's 99 Bottles Party. Stick around. All right, we'll get ready to get out of here on this Wednesday night. No Philly sports tonight. Flyers and Sixers both have the night off, which means World Series Game 5 is on my TV.
Well, something you can look forward to, Mike, is Friday, November 7th when Boxing Insider Promotions brings another action-packed event back to Tropicana Showroom in Atlantic City. Don't miss out on the return of undefeated super welterweight Justin Figueroa in his first fight back in Atlantic City, winning his first title this summer. The stacked boxing card includes undefeated heavyweight from Absecamp High School, Bruce Selden Jr., rising star of women's boxing from Berlin, New Jersey, Leah Lewandowski, along with top 10 ranked heavyweight Otto Whalen. All are back in Atlantic City in the showroom at Tropicana. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com for the biggest boxing event of the fall season, presented by Boxing Insider Promotions on Friday, November 7th.
All right, good stuff. Boxing back in AC. It just feels right, baby. All right, coming up on tomorrow's show, we're going to be live at the Tropicana Chickies and Pete's. Stop out to have some lunch with us tomorrow on the Sports Bash. One thought every game. Casey Joyner, week number 9 of the NFL. The worst part of the football season is when you hit the double digits.
I can tell you something, though, about Chickies and Pete's, though. You should ask them about their new beer offering. I found out on Saturday now you can get your beer in a larger glass now.
Oh, how about that? A larger glass.
More beer.
More beer.
At
Good.
Chickies.
I know Chickies and Pete's has a great beer menu. That I can attest to. They got really good. At least the EHT one, I know for sure, has a really, really good tap list. The Atlantic City one, I don't know their tap list as good as the EHT one. You know why? Our boy Shaner came out to EHT a couple weeks ago and bought us a beer.
Whoa, hey now.
So after the show was over, we saddled up, Pete G and I, and looked at the tap menu, and I said, holy mackerel, this is a phenomenal beer menu.
Yeah, you were like, I like that one, I like that one, I like
it
that one.
It was really, really good. All right, tomorrow, Casey Joyner, One Thought Every Game, football at 4. We'll get Jeff Nadeau's picks and more tomorrow on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Have a great night, everybody. Before I go, I need caller 7 right now, 609-573-3776. 609-573-3776. Caller number 7. You are entered for this year's 99 Bottles Party at Maynard's in Margate. The 99 Bottles Party is our biggest party of the year. Every year we have 99 pairs of tickets. Every single qualifier wins a pair of tickets to either a Flyers game, a Sixers game, a concert, or an Eagles game. This year, the Eagles game you can win tickets to is Black Friday, Eagles-Bears at Lincoln Financial Field. You must be present to win. That will be on Wednesday, November 26th, 9306 Amherst Avenue in Margate. Maynard's will be live for the full Sports Bash. And this year's 99 bottles of beer on the wall, 99 tickets for you. Good luck. See ya tomorrow. Talk to you.